I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm gonna kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a little fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're happy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're happy because you got nothing.
Lobito! You got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Welcome everybody to Be the Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. It's your good friend Mr. BDA, and I'm glad that everybody could be on board for this one, fellas. In this episode, we've got a fantastic one for you. We're going to be reviewing, just like we did with the 154-pound division a few weeks back, we're going to be analyzing the lightweight and super lightweight divisions. There's a lot of big names, a lot of potential fights, even between guys from those two weight divisions. So we're going to be taking a look at that, and we're going to be asking you guys at the end of every fighter, how do you rate that fighter out of 10? 0 out of 10, 2 out of 10, whatever. And I got a little bit of a scale here to help us understand where each guy stands, or where each ranking stands. You know, if you give a guy a 5, how does that, work out? What does that mean? So we're going to be looking at all that. But before we get down to the fun, let's get the business out of the way, fellas. You know the drill. If you want to donate a couple of shekels our way, you're certainly welcome to do so via the Super Chat feature. That's right, Super Chats are back. Although, if you want to keep more of your money and have it go to a good place, I would suggest you still use the Buy Me a Coffee app, link in the description, because YouTube does shave off 30% right off the bat, right off the top of your donation. So if you don't want 30% to go anywhere else, Buy Me a Coffee app, that's where it's at. Don't forget, you can also join our Patreon. Shout out to everybody on Patreon. I've got a couple of ideas for some free videos on Patreon for you guys, so stay tuned for that. And I want to give a shout out to the BDA members as well, because as you remember, or you may have forgotten, that we were demonetized for about 2 months now. But now we're back, and so the memberships are still there. Shout out to all of you guys who have remained as the anointed ones in the initiated. So shout out to those guys. I'm talking about Lee, Raphael32, Rapbax Trucking Company, Don Robo Crip, Nightmurph, Stagger Lee Goods, The Quags, Rafael Garza, WK Devin, King Bucho. I don't know why he's a member, but shout out to Bucho. I mean, he's a co-founder. And I am your leader as well. Shout out to those guys, all of you. Thank you for continuing supporting us, and I hope you guys enjoy the content that we put forth. Lalo Soto asked as well, when is the most shocking moments of 2024 coming out? It's coming, man. I was just working on it earlier, and I believe I'll be working on it after this show. So it's right. It's almost done. It's almost ready. It's almost cooked. But that's about it, fellas. Don't forget. Hey, by the way, shout out to all of you guys out there. Everybody listening. I'm talking about Rafael Garza, Manos de Dinamita, Epadokua, Dark Hay Dog, Sam Rando, Super Sardonic. Who else? The Quags. Shout out to the Quags. Johnny Barrera, Ratback Trucking Company, 10-4, Mars Boxeo, Who else we got here? Alfredo Contreras, the Night Murph. Shout out to Night Murph. Anthony Lopez, Mario Ponce 24, round 1. I gotta go back here. Quick Sloth, Earl Stevens. Shout out to Earl. Shout out to Earl Stevens. Earl, Windy City. And many more people to come, I'm sure. Fight or Flight Boxing. Shout out to him. And like I said, anybody else is going to be coming aboard as the show goes along. Don't forget to hit that like. It really helps us out. And subscribe if you've yet to do so already. All right. Now, let me invite a couple of people over here. Start cooking with some hot grease. And we're going to get down to the list here and see what's up. We shall see what's up. Hold on a second. Okay. So like I said, we're going to be going through the list here of the top super lightweights and lightweights. I'm going to start off with the lightweights. And I got to tell you, you guys might not agree with the list, but that's where the discussion comes in. Now, at the end of each fighter's report, dossier, we're going to be giving them, you guys are going to be giving them a ranking. And we're going to go by democracy here, democratic process. But what do we mean by the scale? Well, this is the preliminary scale that I've come up with. Maybe one day we'll continue to refine it. So out of 10 rating scale, 0 to 3, tomato cans. The guys that you put in there with prospects at the beginning of their careers. 3 being the highest level of tomato can. Because there are some tomato cans out there that they show up and they show up in shape. A very good shape. And they can go 6 rounds, 8 rounds, even against big punchers and quick-handed guys. So the 3 is the highest level of tomato can. Then we get into the journeyman. You know, that's actually that's supposed to be 4 and 5. Hold on a second. Actually 4, because 5 could be a middling type of Nah, you know what? We're gonna go with 4 and 5. Yeah, gonna go with 4 and 5. Let me just change that up here real quick. 4 and 5. Okay, so what the fuck? 4 and 5 are your journeyman, your gatekeepers, and I suppose 5 would be the highest level of journeyman gatekeeper, right? Like I think of a Darnell Boone, who might even be up at 6. You never know. 6, 7. You were talking about contenders, low and high level contenders. 8, low, titleists, people that got a couple of titles, or people who are in the lower echelon of the top 10 pound for pound list, or even top 20, which is good, by the way. Being top 20 boxers in the world compared to all the boxers out there, that's pretty good. And then, of course, 9 and 10, we're talking the elite. We're talking cream of the crop, top 5 pound for pound guys. So just point of reference, even though these guys don't figure into this list, Usyk, Inoue, Canelo, Crawford, Beterbiev, Bivol, those are the guys that dominate, barely lose any rounds. So that's what we got so far. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. The Quack says Rosado. Our Rico says ads in the middle of life. Oh, really? Already? Huh. The Quack says the gatekeeper from hell. La Fedegatza says tomato can right there. Dio says Virgil Ortiz all of a sudden has multiple injuries when background comes up. Yeah, I heard about that. And then I heard that Virgil Ortiz's father was saying that wasn't true. I don't know. It's a lot of, there's a lot of allegations against Virgil Ortiz all of a sudden. Well, very coincidental. All right, so that's what we got there. Give me 2 seconds here. I'm looking at my connection here. There seems to have some issues. Yo, Chief.
Are we in it?
Chief.
Yes, sir.
So we're on the air. Yeah, we're on the air. What we're doing here is, I'm going to share the screen with you. We're doing the rankings. We're going to be ranking the top guys at lightweight and super lightweight, just going through their dossier. And then at the end, we ask the people, and we're going to have to weigh in as well, how do we rank that fighter out of 10? So between 0 and 10, what category do we place him at? And let me ask you, I want to get your thoughts on this list here, on this rating scale. The rating scale that I've devised, and we can modify it obviously later on, but 0 to 3 would be tomato cans, with 3 being the highest level of tomato can, like in shape tomato cans, guys that actually show up and don't just lay down, with the first punch that gets thrown. 4 to 5 would be the journeyman, gatekeepers, that type of fighter. 6 to 7 would be contenders, whether they're low or high level contenders. 8 would be the titleist. or people who are in the top 20, top 15 pound for pound, or maybe even lower level 10 pound for pound. And then 9 to 10 would be the elite. Guys that are in the upper echelon of the pound for pound list, they barely lose any rounds, always dominate. And they have done so for a long time too, consistency. What do you think about this so far?
Seems good. I won't say there's a flaw in it, but the part of the thing to be analyzed also is, are they facing a lot of the guys that are tomato cans, and is that one of the reasons why they're not losing a lot of rounds?
Right. Yeah. But I mean, we're gonna assume that the guys who are the elite is also because of the level of competition. They're not fighting.
Okay.
I mean, you can't beat pound for pound if you're fighting actual fucking tomato cans. You know, the guys that prospects fight. Although you never know. One day maybe we'll see that. All right, so real quick, let me just read a super chat here, and then we'll get over with the list. Shout out to Rapax Trucking Company. Hey, how come I can't see? Okay, there we go. Shout out to Rapax Trucking Company 10-4, who says, Mr. BDA, do you consider Ryan La Raza or La Raza X, or sort of like Latinx? First of all, I've never figured out what Latinx is. I don't even know what that is. I don't think it exists. I think it's something white people came up with. And I don't know if he's Raza. You know, does he consider himself part of the culture, as they like to say now? I don't know. I mean, yeah, I know the culture usually now. I think Afro Anglos came up with it. But I mean, you know what I'm talking about, the Latin culture. So I don't know. It is kind of funny that, like somebody said in the chat, Bill Haney was going at it with the host of the last press conference. And he says, call him a piece of shit because, he was bullying Devin Haney, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking, wait a minute, a lot of the people that were bullying Devin Haney there were Mexicans. And Bill Haney's the guy that said that, they don't consider Ryan a raza or whatever. And now it's turned on him. So you can't be talking that much smack and then get angry when his son receives a little bit of it. I don't know. Just Bill Haney is really all over the place. Some people even say he might be high. I don't know. I don't decide that. I didn't say that.
Bill doesn't know how to play the game. He likes to stir the audience and stir things up for ratings. But then when you do that, how often did Floyd really get worked up unless someone like Steve Kim really brought facts? Most of the time he didn't. He just dismissed everything and walked off.
Right.
Because he knew he was doing it on purpose. He was playing a role to get ratings. Bill will do that, and then once you bring it back to him with receipts, he gets all upset because he didn't know how to do his job. His job is hype man. Hype man doesn't care about facts. Hype man just stirs the pot, gets people to watch, collects the paycheck, and moves on to the next thing. He's too emotionally involved because it's his son. Rightfully, I can understand that. As a father, I can understand that. But when you're playing manager and you're doing things to rile things up, once you start getting the flack back on the other end, if you can't separate your emotions from the situation because it's your son, you're not doing your job right.
Right. Now, that's a great point, man. And I've been seeing some people complaining about Devin Haney sitting on the same dais as Teofimo Lopez and Ryan Garcia, two guys that are allegedly racist. That's the rumor now, Chief, on Twitter. I mean, those are the allegations, that because those guys said certain things, that makes them racist. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Do people forget Devin Haney, what he said about how he would never lose to a white boy? And I've even seen some people on Twitter go, when people bring that case up, they go, well, how is that racist? Well, because the implication is that he would never lose to somebody who's inferior to him. That's the implication, that a white boy would be inferior to him. People playing dumb on Twitter, like, oh, how is that racist? They're all racist, apparently. If that's a standard, yeah, they're all racist. And then some guy, Cigar Talk or whatever, who has a podcast, he interviews fighters. He went up to Teofimo Lopez. He goes, man, we used to rock with you. You know what you said? And then Teofimo Lopez goes, what did I say? And the guy gets so serious all of a sudden. He goes, man, you know what you said. It's like, why didn't you tell him what he said? Why didn't you confront him straight up with what he said instead of being like a woman and going in circles? Like, man, you know what you said. You know what you said. I got a fat ass. That's what you said. Come on. Give it to him straight. Say, you said this, and that. People.
Well, that goes back to the fact. That goes back to what you and I've talked about on air about reporting. This guy wasn't there to do a report. He was there to stir up some controversy, and he didn't have any facts to back up the case of anything other than the hyperbole and the rumors. So he said, well, why don't you tell me what I said? Oh, you know what you said. That's when you're not prepared for the argument. You're not prepared for the debate. You brought up an accusation. You've got nothing to back it up with other than people's opinions. And when it's all said and done, you're afraid you're going to make a fool of yourself. So you just put it all back on them, deflect, and then technically run away. Those aren't men, by the way. The men usually do their research. do their homework, admit when they don't know enough about a particular subject, but stand their ground on what they do know, and they don't passively aggressively make an accusation, run away. Real, solid, to goodness, grown freaking men. And I'm not talking about this whole woke toxic masculinity. I'm talking about a real man, grown up. Don't do that. And so the people that do this and follow it are beta males following other beta males.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, those were just some of the things that I was seeing on the news. Also on the news, Keith Thurman just fought today in Australia in the morning. Ended up getting a third-round stoppage over Brock Jarvis. What a name, Brock. This is the same guy that Leon Paro stopped in one round. And I got to give it up to Keith Thurman. I didn't know how he was going to look after 3 years out of the ring. And he managed to stop a guy. Look levels above him. So interesting for Keith Thurman. Let's see where he goes from here. Tomorrow, 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning, there's a ESPN, I think it's ESPN, yeah, the Japanese card. Kenshiro Teraji main event. Also Oscalawa, I don't know how you call him. He also lost to Teraji about a year and a half ago, but then he beat La Bomba, who was supposed to be Kenshiro Teraji's next big opponent, and Oscalawa, however you pronounce his name, ended up beating him. So it's a good little card tomorrow morning, early in the morning. I know a lot of people in the Discord get up for those, so might be worth taking a look at that. And what was the other piece of news? Anyway, I'll remember later. We got to get to the list here. Lightweight and super lightweight rankings. And like I said, fellas, don't forget, you guys are going to have to weigh in at the end of each fighter and let us know where each guy stands from 0 to 10. Skills, conditioning, all that type of stuff. Let's go to the rating scale. Okay, there we go. Like the first guy that we've got here on board, William El Camarón Zepeda, 28 years old, 32-0 with 27 knockouts. He stands at 5 feet 9 inches tall with a 69.5-inch reach. And he's rated number 5 at lightweight by Ring Magazine. His top wins include Hector Tanajara. That was a couple of years ago. He upset the undefeated fighter. Jojo Diaz, that's Joseph Diaz. Giovanni Cabrera. And recently, Tevin Farmer. I didn't know whether to include Farmer in there because he struggled with Farmer and sort of replaced it in terms of best performance against Maxi Hughes. Maxi Hughes, who actually, in my eyes, in a lot of people, had beaten George Kambosos but got shafted. And Zepeda went in there against Hughes and took him out in, 4 rounds, I think? So I don't know whether to replace that there, but that's the way it stands. And, pretty good resume there from William Zepeda. By the way, he stopped Maxi Hughes in, it doesn't say which round. Whatever. Then we move on to his worst moment. What was his worst moment? Yeah, it has to be getting hit multiple times by Farmer's left hand and then getting dropped by the light punching Farmer who can't crack an egg. I think that was his worst moment so far. His attributes include his punch output. He's heavy-handed for a guy who throws a lot of punches. See, that's an interesting thing. Usually volume punchers tend to be light punchers. That's why they morph into volume punchers, because they have to compensate for the lack of power. But Zepeda is a heavy-handed dude. Ends up taking guys out within 4 or 5 rounds. And the body punching, whether it's with right hooks, because he's a southpaw, whether it's with right hooks or those left uppercuts to the plexus, this guy goes to the body something mean. Chief, what do you think about Zepeda as a fighter?
Well, as we know that I've kind of morphed towards the historian more than the guy that currently follows a lot of the top guys. I haven't studied a lot of Zepeda, but I've heard and I've read a lot about him. So he's where he's ranked and everything else. He's got the right people behind him to put him in the right places. The names that you've mentioned on his resume are obviously accomplishments that put him in in the mix. He has not garnered the kind of attention to say, "Hey, I've got to watch this next fight for his opponent."
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say he's not fighting the best guys out there. And what I'm saying is the fact that he hasn't reached that level, whether due to promotion, lack of quality of opposition, or even just hasn't hit enough of the mainstream to where even on Discord I'm seeing enough stuff to where I need to see more of this guy. And so I'm willing to put myself on the line to say I expose myself a little bit. The fact that I'm not up to par on him.
A little bit.
I'm not going to say. All right, a lot. Uh,
I'm kidding around, man.
but I am going to say the fact that I have heard of him. So if I've at least heard of him, then you've accomplished something.
There you go.
Because usually, so I mean, if I've heard of you, I used to know who people were that were like preliminary contenders down at 105. That's not me anymore. So if I've at least heard of you, you've accomplished something. You're borderlining the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one. Two, all of your attributes that I've heard about him are accurate. To be the active puncher that he is, he has to have conditioning in addition to the body punching. And like you said, an output. Output means conditioning, because when you're exerting yourself and someone's trying to hit you back, and as you noted, he was getting hit back a lot by Tevin Farmer, then you have to be in condition. So, where am I going to rank him? I mean, he's obviously.
Well, we're not there yet. We're not there with the ranking yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of your assessments for everything I've read about him and heard about him and seen the highlights of him are accurate.
All right. Well, I'm interested to see what the people have to say in the ranking, but we still got a couple of points here in the dossier to look at. Flaws. What are his flaws? Well, he's got porous defense. One thing, just to be specific about what that means. First of all, he has a very wide stance with his legs, with his feet. They're set apart quite wide. And when you get that type of wide stance, you kind of freeze. You can't be really move. You have to then rely on your upper body movement. And he drops his hands a little bit when he's doing that. And if you look at the Rene Alvarado fight, which is one of the fights that previous to the Farmer one that I saw him struggle in the most, Alvarado was punching with him, because Alvarado, forget about his record, the guy is always in shape, and I think he only recently got stopped after 11 losses against the best guys in super featherweight and lightweight. He finally got stopped, but usually he's very durable, and he nullified a lot of Zepeda's output. So what I'm saying is his wide stance is kind of a problem. Also, whenever he throws out 1-2, he tends to overlean with the body first as opposed to with the fist. And then because of that, once he misses or lands, he has to come back a long distance because of that wide stance and the fact that he leans in too much. And then when he does lean back, he just watch that Farmer fight. Every time he got hit with the left is because he's backing up with his hands down. He's backing up and he's just hoping that he's out of range. But then once the punch comes, you're supposed to roll or ride with it. And he doesn't do that. So that's what I mean by porous defense. As it pertains to another flaw, chin. Is it a faulty chin? Because look, Farmer was sitting down on that left hand more than ever. And partially that was because Zepeda made him do that. Farmer was punching out of necessity, out of survival. So he was sitting down on that left hand more than ever. But still, you can sit down on your shot more or whatever. But if you're a light puncher or a pillow fister guy, you can only hit so hard. And the fact that he drops Zepeda, it doesn't bode well for his chin. I want to see him in there against a big puncher, see how he does. Because again, getting dropped by Farmer, not good. Not good.
Can you find footage of that dropping?
Yeah, but I can't play it. But it's
Okay,
on
I'll
YouTube.
look for it later.
The full fight's on YouTube because it was Riyadh season. It was part of Riyadh season, so it should be on YouTube. And
I was watching this while talking to you at the same time. I'll look it up right now.
Fantastic. And finally, like I said earlier, is he frozen by volume? Alvarado was punching with him, Farmer as well to a certain extent, and he sort of gets frozen. Again, that's because of that wide stance. You start punching at him from a long range, he starts moving his head, but he's got the feet set apart very wide, so he's essentially stuck in mud. So those are some of his flaws that I've been able to detect so far. So what do we got here as it pertains to his ace in the hole? What's his special weapon? The thing that sets him apart from everybody else? Stamina. This dude, say what you want about him. Yeah, it was a difficult fight against Alvarado and against Farmer, but he never stopped punching. By the way, that Farmer fight, you will know, Chief, a lot of clinching from Farmer. A lot of clinching. Incidentally, the referee in that fight was Harvey Duck, who deducted a point from the Karen in the rematch against Jaron Boots Ennis. But against Farmer, no points deducted. Go figure. And what is the perfect fight for William Camarón Zepeda? I would say Shakur Stevenson. Because Shakur Stevenson is faster than Zepeda, technically a better fighter, but he doesn't hit that hard. He's got brittle hands, Stevenson does. he might not have the heart to keep a guy like Zepeda off of him. So I think that's actually the perfect fight for Zepeda. But unfortunately, I don't know if it'll ever happen. Although it may be because both guys are under the zone banner, technically, even though they're under different promoters. So you never know. But I think that's the perfect fight for William El Camarón Zepeda. And now finally we give the ranking. So fellas, it's up to you to give us a ranking from 0 to 10, or 1 out of 10, whatever. Where do you rate William Zepeda? 0 out of 3, a tomato can, 4 to 5, a journeyman, 6 to 7, contender, whether low or high level, number 8, a titleist, or 9 to 10, elite. Where do you guys rate, or how do you rate William El Camarón Zepeda? I'm going to give it a couple of seconds there, Chief. Are you watching the highlights?
Yeah, I'm watching the highlights right now.
What do you think so far?
And yeah, you're correct about the clinching and the wide stance. And so to elaborate on that wide stance, yeah, he does get hit a lot because when all he's doing is leaning back on the back foot, instead of keeping his feet are slightly wider than shoulder par. So if he kept him shoulder par like Eric Morales used to do, he'd be able to actually take half a step back without being off balance and make them miss with those shots rather than just try and lean back and try and make them miss. He seems to be incredibly accurate. I won't say incredibly, but very accurate. Does let his hands go a lot. He is a volume puncher, but a puncher at the same time. Everything you've already said. He does get caught, and I said this about Matias also. He gets caught in his shell. If you're a flurry fighter, he's going to cover up and wait his turn. He's not always going to punch with you, even though, judging by this fight, it looks like he has confidence in his chin all the way up until whenever he gets knocked down. I'm only in round 3 of the highlights right now. But I think one of the reasons why he didn't cover up more was he wasn't worried about Farmer's punch. Like Farmer just threw a counter overhand left that just barely grazed his chin, and he kept coming. So I think leading up to the knockdown, which I haven't seen yet, was he off balance? Was it a punch he didn't see? Was it a follow? I don't know the punch yet, so I'll comment on that when I see it. But some of these counter lefts that Farmer's throwing, he's not worried about him. He doesn't feel like they hurt him. They don't rock him off balance. They don't take him out of his. They don't even take him out of his timing so far. And so I think that's one of the reasons why he let his quote unquote porous defense go. Now, this is the only real fight I've studied of his. So don't, 1 out of almost 30. Don't,
Right.
Don't put too much stock in what I'm saying on all this. This is one opponent.
That's all right. It's quite a good breakdown right there. Now, people in the chat.
His hook is on point. He knows how to. He has a very good offense. His arsenal is solid and on point. Because Tim Farmer is no slouch. We all know this. So anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. That's all right. People in the chat. Lalo Soto says 8. Josh says 6.5. J. Cole says between 6 and 7. Quag says number 6. DJ Big Leg says 7. Epadokua says 8. OG Blaze says 7. Quickslot says 9. Ray says 6 and 7. All right, so I'm looking at a lot of 6s and 7s and some 8s. So I guess we split the difference here or go somewhere in between. And I think a 7 is quite appropriate here. That's if you look at a rating scale, that's actually a contender, whether high or low. I think he's a high contender. And again, he's got an interim title. You know my position on titles. I don't count them. There's about 6, 7 so-called champions per division now. So in an old school sense, in the old days, he would be a contender, which is what he is. So I think people are saying 7, and I think that's quite accurate. He could be higher. He could end up being higher one day, but he has to prove it in the ring. That's the only thing that's left there, the opposition.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment from what I've seen, what I've heard, what the fans are saying. I just caught that that shot he was knocked down with. It came from over the top on the outside. I didn't even see it. And it looked almost like by the time he saw it, he went to move back on his left foot and then got caught on it at the same time. I wouldn't say, because I'm looking at the rest of it, he's still getting caught with shots afterwards and nothing's happening. I think it was a well-timed punch by Tevin Farmer. Like you said, he was sitting down on it, and it was perfectly timed on the outside to where Zepeda and just never even saw it and even prepared. By the time he did prepare for it, it landed, and he went back to balance on his back leg. All his weight was there, and he fell. In other words, if he saw the punch coming, I don't think anything would have happened. But it was a solid shot. It was a very well placed counter by Tevin Farmer.
I mean, he got caught, he got dropped. I mean, his chin. I question his chin, and I think we have every right to do so. I do wonder how he's. Yeah.
What other situations aside from Tevin Farmer with a perfectly placed shot do we have to question his chin? How many more times has he been knocked down by questionable opponents?
Well, that's the thing, though. It's not a lot of guys land on him because he tends to overwhelm him and them and then take him out within 4 or 5 rounds. I think Jojo Diaz is a guy that went at 10 or 12. I forget. Well, he went the distance against Zepeda. And I think he hit him with some clean lefts and never dropped him. But, I mean, again, that's Jojo Diaz. That's another light puncher at lightweight. So
right.
I don't know. I guess we keep our eyes on him. Again, he's going to be rematching Tevin Farmer. I think, actually, that should have been the perfect fight. Or rather, that would have been a contender for a perfect fight because it's going to let us know if he can improve. Oh, and by the way, another key factor, because I said he's acing the holy stamina. The first Farmer fight was 10 rounds. The rematch is going to be 12. So that should be a benefit to Zepeda. And by the way, he should really tell the next referee, hey, can we watch the clinching here? Because, I mean, it was out of whack. I can only imagine what would have happened had Farmer been prevented from clinching.
Well, Zepeda needs to learn how to throw a better uppercut because Farmer's leaning straight in on him, squared shoulders. There's no better punch for that other than this generation just doesn't have good uppercut knowledge. Mm-hmm. Just especially off the front foot, because you don't see it coming. So you can set your overhand left up with it. But I mean, the uppercut's clearly there. He throws it to like you said, the sternum. But Tevin Farmer's got his head on his shoulder. Half a step back, uppercut. He doesn't see it coming. He'll never see it coming. He'll get caught with it. I'm not saying it's going to drop him and knock him out, but it's going to keep Tevin Farmer from wanting to lean in. Mm-hmm. And then once he gets caught with it, now I don't know if it's going to set up a worse game plan because Tevin Farmer may end up going to the back foot the rest of the fight, and Zepeda may have to chase him. But he's going to think twice about laying inside of him because he knows that there's going to be a trap set for him. I just saw a good stumble in the 9th round. From a shot that counterpunch from Zepeda. So could be balance, could be chin. I agree with you that the better follow-up fight is a rematch versus Shakur Stevenson. If he gets by this one in impressive fashion, then yes, Shakur Stevenson would be a perfect fight for him. But let's see him clarify himself on who's the better fighter between these two. See how he can adjust.
All right. Well, there you go. Shout out to everybody in the chat who gave us a rating as well. Pancho Villa says, I've never seen Farmer's punches be so effective. I think he was on the juice. Well, that's a point of contention that there's no testing here. Farmer was complaining about it, the fact that there's been no testing for the rematch. So make of that what you will. This is like a Pride FC type of fight. Both guys can take whatever they want, apparently. All right, let's go to another ranking here. Again, that was Zepeda, ranked number 5 at lightweight, according to Ring Magazine. And then we move on to Shakur Stevenson, who's 27 years old. He's got a record of 23 wins, 0 losses, 11 knockouts, big knockouts. He stands at 5 feet 8 inches tall with a 68-inch reach, and he's rated number 4 at lightweight by Ring Magazine. His top wins include Joed Gonzalez, Jamel Herring, Oscar Valdez, and Artem Hartunian. The reason why I didn't include Conceição in there is because Shakur Stevenson blew the weight and then subsequently ended up literally busting Conceição's balls, hit him 20 times under the belt. Referee never once took a point away. So to me, that fight should have been a no contest. Never happened. So I really can't include it as one of his top wins because it wasn't on the level. But Joed Gonzalez recently just got himself a win against a very tough Arnold Kagai on Pro Box, which is really now the Friday night fights of our era. Really bargain level fights or bargain price fights for a good price, and they're quality fights. It's guys that are guys that are past their peak. That's where they can fight, or lower level guys who don't have a name but need a fight. They can get it there. So shout out to ProBox for continuing to improve and continue to deliver great fights, or good fights rather, not great fights. So Joed Gonzalez, that win, they're aging well. Jamel Herring, Oscar Valdez, and Artem Hartunian. His worst moment, Shakur Stevenson's worst moment in his career, well, take your pick. It's either this or the Nakatila fight, but I decided to go with De Los Santos because it was way more egregious. Back foot bitching it versus Edwin De Los Santos. October 2023, a day that will live in infamy because it was broadcast on ESPN. So, yeah. Chief, what do you think about that? Is that he's the worst moment of his career so far?
Well, other than the body slam that I don't even. He may have gotten a point deducted, but he should have been disqualified for. But yeah, the entire performance was terrible. That guy that I've talked about offline that recognized, and I like to make fun of him, call him Telly Savalas, said that. Well, there's a reason why. We'll talk about that later. But anyway, he says that. That was such an outstanding performance because he knew that if he stood in front of that guy, he could get knocked out. And I'm like, look, I bring this point up a lot. When you want to try and prove a point, but you don't want to get caught, it's just like what Teddy Atlas told Tim Bradley. If you throw the hook, don't throw it right in front of him. When Bradley didn't understand, Atlas demonstrated, stepped aside and throw the hook where you're outside of his front range. Instead of being squared up, you're now outside of his forward momentum, and you can still throw the hook. It's called angles. And everyone likes to call Ivan Robinson a C-class fighter. Needs to realize the fact that Ivan Robinson would have known how to get those angles that Shakur couldn't figure out. And Shakur's levels above him. And he really is. But if he's levels above him, how come he doesn't have the IQ to figure out how to get those angles?
That's a great point. I mean, you got to hit your opponent too. Listen, a lot of people, ever since Tank Davis drew against Lamont Roach, and Haney's taken a loss, Garcia's taken a loss. All those guys from Shakur Stevenson's generation have taken losses or draws. So now people are saying, "Oh, Shakur Stevenson's worst moment is actually a win." But I'm thinking, look, if you're objective about this, or I'm not necessarily you, but I mean the boxing public in general, not even them, but the judges, you have to admit that performance could have easily been a draw with different judges.
Oh yeah,
so
because there was no real action.
Exactly.
There was no real aggressor, assertive fighter trying to establish anything. And that, I mean, I guess Dos Santos was, because he kept coming forward trying to find Shakur Stevens leapfrogging all over the ring, backpedaling and everything else. Now, I got to give Shakur this. He's got some excellent calves when it comes time for being able to get out of danger. And I look, you can laugh all you want to. That's important in boxing. It's extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
But when your entire 12 rounds is dedicated to showing that off, and there's no real martial art skill showed other than your willingness to disengage. Because remember one thing about fighting in general, it's just important to know when to disengage and regroup and reattack as it is to attack all out. A blitz is important. And look what it did to Germany against France. It was the blitzkrieg was extremely effective. Okay, now you've got to stop, regroup, and do a counterattack. That's just combat, the basics of combat. Okay, well, he never did that. He just retreated.
That was a main problem. You hit the nail on the head, and what makes it worse is the fact that he was so heavily lauded as the next big thing. Remember, he came out to the ring with Andre Ward and Terence Crawford. The implication being that he was going to be the next one of those guys, his generation's Andrew Ward or Terence Crawford, which, by the way, do you really want to be your generation's Andrew Ward? I don't think so. But so he came out with that, and he was heavily hyped by ESPN and the media, and he just completely stunk the joint out. So that has to be his worst performance so far. As it pertains to his attributes, his defense, like Chief said, hey, listen, we can laugh all we want about him being a back foot bitch, but when he wants to, he's actually very, very elusive. It's very difficult to get a clean shot on the guy. So he's that guy going for him. Hand speed. As we're going to be seeing here in the next couple of fighters between lightweight and super lightweight, there's a lot of speed in these divisions, a lot of speed. So having that will allow him to compete against some of these physically talented fighters. Another one of his attributes, I think he's straight left. When it comes to offense, that straight left. I was going to say body work. I think he's an underrated body puncher, as he showed against Hartunian. But if I really wanted to put that in the list, he would have to be hurting guys a little bit more. So I still think his body punching is good because it keeps guys honest. But I decided to go with the straight left because that's really his money punch. It's the punch that judges see. It's the most apparent punch. It's a flashier shot. So I decided to put that there as one of his main attributes. Now, when it comes to his flaws, and I'm asking the question here, is he bitch-made, as this generation likes to say? I mean, we saw him against Nakatila. It was the same thing as against De Los Santos. Running around the ring, leaping 2 feet back as soon as Nakatila flinched at him. It was just a horrible performance. And what Shakur Stevenson said afterwards was, well, I got hit with a big punch and I didn't want to get hurt. That's what he said. And then he said, I'll look better the next time. And against De Los Santos, let's not forget, he made a lot of excuses afterwards. I was sick. I told everybody I was sick beforehand. And I said, watch this. And he started trying to humble brag about how he actually beat the guy with one hand. He said, in my worst state ever, I still managed to win, which again brings us back to the fact that he didn't really win. It could have easily been a draw with different judges. And then I guess Hartunian, he's constantly going back to his corner saying, I'm going to stop this guy. Watch, I'm going to stop him. He says that for about 8 rounds. And then as soon as he realizes that Hartunian is not going anywhere, he starts arguing with his coaches, with his grandfather specifically, or uncle, whoever's in his corner with him. Starts arguing with the guy. And then he got hurt against Hartunian with a left hook. So that was also I like that performance overall. But like I said, he had his bad spots. And what I'm saying is he's kind of mentally weak because he's always complaining. As soon as he gets stabbed, he doesn't want to get hurt. And Chief, we were talking about that the other day, because Jimmy and I have talked about this, about how whenever we say, oh, this guy doesn't like to get hit, the counter argument is always, well, nobody likes to get hit. To which we reply, actually, some guys kind of do. So what I wanted to say to avoid all that discussion is, wouldn't it be better to just say that some guys don't mind getting hit?
I think the better way to say it is some people know how to adjust to getting hit. Everyone's going to get hit, okay? So what do you, in the words of Clint Eastwood, $1 Million Baby, so what are you going to do?
Well,
you're going to get hit. So you're going to get hit. So if you get hit, what are you going to do? Are you going to hit him back? Are you going to find an angle? Are you going to counter that hit? There's nuances to this sport. Everyone says there's levels. These mainstream fans that don't understand the depths of the sport are going to say, well, nobody likes to get hit. Okay, well, the counterpart is everyone's going to get hit. So what are you anticipating to do for once you get hit? What preparations are you doing? Okay, are you going to roll with the punch? Are you going to prepare? Are you going to try and time it? Are you going to counter it? Are you just going to take it? Are you going to turn and run because you don't want to get hurt? That's fine, but then use your boxing knowledge to set that up as a counterpoint. Then, what I mean by that is, or that punch is coming. He's already hit you with it once, so now use it as something that he's going to follow up with again. But have a game plan of how to counter it. Have a plan of what to do to use that strength against him as a trap now. I mean, this is not hard to do. So a great trainer should be teaching you how to do this. If you're a great fighter and have a high boxing IQ, you should know how to do this.
To your point, Lamont Roach recently fought a big puncher in Tank Davis. And every time Tank Davis would land a big shot, what did Lamont Roach do? Fired right back. He didn't clinch. Yeah. He didn't back foot bitch and say, okay, let me, I got hurt. Let me just outpoint him by run. No, stayed in the pocket and actually got the better of the bigger puncher. So you're right. It's not about, I think my point still stands. Do some people mind getting hit? Because evidently Lamont Roach didn't mind. He knew that if he started running, it wasn't going to end up any better for him. But like you said too, how do you react once you get hit? Because like you said, everyone's going to get hit. So that's a very good way of putting it there, Chief.
If I can sum that up real quick, on top to put the cherry on top of the whipped cream and stuff we already said. he knew he was going to get hit in this fight, so he prepared for what he was going to do once it happened. He didn't try and prepare like, I'm going to do this and be like this virtuoso of not getting it. No, I'm fighting Tank Davis. He's accurate. He has short hands and everything else that other people have said, but he has timing, and so I'm going to get hit. Now, what he did a lot of times was he didn't get caught flush because he will fought out of a high guard. He smothered the punch often by seeing it, sometimes stepping in with his gloves up, so it lessened the effect. He did a lot of different things to try and anticipate the fact he was going to get hit, but he prepared for that. And so if you're not prepared to get hit on what you're going to do, if this guy's got all right, I'll put it this way. Shakur Stevens did well in preparation for not getting hit against Oscar Valdez. This guy's shorter than me. His main weapon is his front foot, his front hand. I'm going to neutralize it. And so in doing so, I'm going to get hit a lot less. Now, all he's going to hit me with instead is the right hand. Well, as I've said on this air before, he's now sacrificing his right hand as a weapon, as a rangefinder and a jab, So now he's become one-dimensional. Now the fight's mine. He had a game plan. He executed it.
Mhm.
He hasn't done that with everybody. Some of these people, it seems more like he's trying to free will and I don't know the word I'm looking for, but kind of improvise his win instead of sticking to what got him there. And okay, this guy's got Del Santo's got a big punch. Okay, we know that. You're going to get hit by that punch every once in a while. Okay, we get that. Now, what are you going to do to counterbalance that? And if it's just disengaging from combat, let's face it, on an objective card, like you said, that could have been a draw.
Absolutely.
We'll wrap up one other thing here. And Shakur Stevens, a lot of things that we're putting out here, minus the fact I don't think anyone's going to say bitch made in regard to the fighter I'm going to mention.
Uh-huh.
But everything seems lack of power, weak hands, moves a lot, good body puncher. We're talking about a lightweight, left-handed. Sounds an awful lot like low blows. Sounds a lot like Pernell Whitaker.
Oh, wait a minute. I was, you know what? You caught me off guard, and I should have seen that one coming.
Just saying. Now, I will not put Shakur Stevens in rankings with Pernell Whitaker on ranking in the lightweight division ever in history. I won't do that. But the adjectives we're using to describe very much describe a lot of the things that Pernell Whitaker did at lightweight. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, listen, we got to move on here with this list, but I'll just say, let Whitaker rest in peace, man. The guy's been dead for a while now. Let's go. Okay, so the other thing is, so weak hands. That's the other thing. Real quick, weak hands. I don't know if people saw, but he's got a bunch of. He was holding his hands up during one of those red carpet events. I think it was for Ring Magazine or something. He was holding his mitts up at the camera. He was all scarred up. I don't know if it's from injuries or from surgeries or whatever, but there was more scarring on those hands than Gabriel Rosado's face. This dude has fucked up hands, and the fact that he had them in ice and really was claiming, again, he didn't say it officially, but it looks like his hands were really hurting. And I know a lot of guys tend to put the hands on ice after a fight. I mean, again, you're wearing 10 8-ounce gloves, you're punching another guy in the elbows, top of the head, whatever, it's going to hurt. But this guy had both hands there, and he was sitting down, and he looked like he was really hurting. He also, remember, he had one of the first fights back during the pandemic. I think it was in July that he fought, July 2020. He fought some no-name Mexican, and he actually ended up busting off both hands in that fight because he was trying to punch with more power. So I think it has to do with bad technique. I don't think they ever taught him how to punch properly. So I think that's probably the reason why he's fucking up his hands, if I had to venture. Point is, he might have weak hands, and that's going to be a problem because it leads him to a lack of power. He's got good speed. He actually does turn his punches over a little bit well, but it's just that fight. I don't know, his wrists maybe are weak or something. I don't know. But he's got a lack of power. And as we're going to see later on, there's a lot of guys out there who have power and speed on top of that and skills. That might be a problem for him if he can't compete with them. His timing and accuracy is going to have to compensate for that. All right, so what's his ace in the hole? James Prince. No, I'm kidding. Should have taken that off. Reflexes. His reflexes are his ace in the hole. This dude, again, the last time I saw somebody be a little bit on, because he does something that's unorthodox. He'll drop his lead hand and lean back. And usually when guys lean back, they got nowhere else to go but down. He will lean back and then roll with the shots and just stay in place and not get hit. And I don't think I've ever seen that before. It reminds me a little bit of another Puerto Rican fighter, Wilfred Benitez. I'm not saying it was the same style of defense, but it was, they call him the Raider for a reason because he would make it look easy. When he would stand in the, there was that famous sequence where Tommy Hearns had him in the corner. Tommy Hearns, of all people. And he fired off like a combination. I forget how many punches it was, a combination. None of them landed clean. So that's what Shakur Stevenson reminds me of. Remember, he's half Puerto Rican, by the way.
Same thing with Hilton. When Hilton knocked him down and broke his ankle, talking about Benitez, of course. And he went in with only 1 foot. Now, I think he was holding both ropes to try and maintain balance, which is illegal, but he only had 1 foot at the time. And Hilton went in to try and finish him off with a combination and missed every punch. Benitez was special.
I dare say Shakur Stevenson might have special defense too. But the fact
I'm not going to argue that at all.
The fact that he's got subpar in other departments might prevent him from actually showing that defense at the highest level. And the perfect fight? The perfect fight would be Tank Davis. Yes, Shakur Stevenson is boring. He might be bitch made. He might run too much. But I tell you what, I think he's got the perfect skill set to beat Tank Davis. The only thing is, Chief, does he have the mentality to do what Lamont Roach and Isaac Cruz did, which is to actually push Davis back and stand there and not run away as soon as he feels the power? That's the big if.
Hey, I'm going to go out on a limb and say if he uses what he's done in the past, but adds a little bit more activity to it, it might be an impressive situation. Meaning, Tank's going to have to come forward, which Tank's not bad at coming forward, but he's become comfortable with setting the counterpunch knockouts. But he prefers for you to come to him and overextend yourself so he can counter you with a shot when you're off balance. But he can be an aggressor and a relatively effective one. It just takes him a little bit to catch up to you. But in doing so, when he plants his foot, Shakur can actually use his defense to make Davis work. Davis is the older of the two. I have no idea who has more amateur fights, but I know that Tank's got over 200. So wear and tear. Of course, Tank's only fighting once a year, so I don't know how much wear and tear. Back to the point. By using these situations of backing off and making Tank come forward and to the point to where when he finally plants his foot, Shakur can throw his combination, even if it doesn't fully land. Kind of like what Whitaker was doing against, what Hurtado was doing against Whitaker. The second you get them right to that moment where they're in range and you're ready and they're not, throw your combination and move. It may be boring. It may not be exciting. But at the end of the day, it's going to be like, well, even if he wasn't constantly coming forward, only one guy really made the action and the other guy didn't because the other guy never got a chance to get off. He had to get set first. He never got set, so he never got to launch anything. And if that neutralizes Tank, then one, that's going to show where Tank's at. Two, it's going to show if Tank was ever really overrated against a boxer. And three, if Shakur implements this and pulls it off, it's going to show the fact that when he wants to take the risk and put all of his skills at the forefront, he'll be a force to be reckoned with. Now, this is all hypotheticals and ifs, but still.
All right. Now, people in the chat are telling us that we're spending too much time on each fighter. It's true. We have eight other fighters left, and we've almost taken up an hour here. Although I will say, although I will say we spent about 15 minutes talking about something else earlier, so it's more like 40 minutes. But still, we gotta move on here.
Okay.
So what rating? And I asked the people the same thing. Out of 0 out of 10, 1 out of 10, whatever you want to call it, what do you guys give Shakur Stevenson? Keep in mind, 0 and 3, that's a tomato can. 4 to 5, that's a journeyman. 6 to 7 is a contender, whether low level or high level. 8 is a titleist or low level pound for pound guy. 9 to 10, that would be elite. Chief, where do you rank Shakur Stevenson?
I would have to, based off of what he's done so far, I'd still have to put him, whether I like him or not, I'd probably have to put him at an 8.
Mm-hmm.
He's clearly a titleist in more than one division, undefeated. He's faced good fighters. I mean, I'll put it this way, because I know we've been talking too much, but Valdez was an undefeated 2-division champion, just like he was when they stepped in the ring against each other. He proved he was a higher level than Valdez. So, and he kind of set Valdez on a downward spiral after that. It was after that fight that Valdez kind of went stagnant towards downhill a little bit. So you got to put it in perspective.
Well, Chief, I got to tell you, you're being very, what's the word I'm looking for here? Diplomatic about that. But I'm looking at the chat here. People are, Nightmare says Shakur is a solid 0, -10, -50. Cheddar Bob says 9. Sergeant says 0. Epadokua says boring, -8. King KO says Shakur beat a bunch of... Yeah.
Excitement was never a criteria. So, I mean...
I won't disagree with him, though. Mark
I'm not
says,
either. I don't find him to be someone that I'm going to tune in and stop what I'm doing on a Saturday night to watch. But that's not what we're judging on.
Right. Now, okay. So we'll go with an... I agree with your ranking, though. I think we're going to put him at an 8. Wait, what the fuck? 8. Yeah, I think 8 is a solid number for Shakur Stevenson. Like you said, 3 division, even though he really wasn't the guy in the division. Well, actually, at 130, he was considered when he beat Conceição, but still, I mean, it's 126 he wasn't, and 135 he certainly isn't the best guy so far. So, and by the way, this is a guy that is repping Puerto Rico now. So Puerto Rico has a potential future Hall of Famer in Shakur Stevenson. Shout out to him for rocking his Puerto Rican heritage. All right. Let's move on. Don't forget to hit that like, fellas. Hit that like, hit that like, hit that like. Yes, we're going to be moving on from Shakur Stevenson, so hit that like. Really helps us out. Subscribe if you yet to do so already. And don't forget, if you want to donate a couple of shekels, you can do it via the Buy Me a Coffee app or the Super Chat. Let's go to the next fighter in our little brouhaha here. And then we got Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn, the Keymaster, as we like to call him around here. 26 years old, 13-0 with 9 knockouts. He stands at 5 feet, 9 inches tall, with a 70-inch reach, and he's rated number 3 at lightweight by Ring Magazine. Some of his top wins include Jose Pedraza, Gustavo Lemos, and recently Denis Beranchyk. Now, the Lemos fight is interesting because at 140, Lemos, I thought he beat Richardson Hitchins, and then he stepped in there against Keyshawn Davis back at 135, and Davis took him out in, 4 rounds? So that's actually quite impressive. Yeah, Pedraza a little bit past it, but okay, still an okay win for a guy his age. And then Beranchyk, that was the one that got him a title, although you know where I stand with that. But what was his worst moment? His worst moment so far has been struggling and getting stunned versus Albright in what ended up being a no contest because Keyshawn Davis ended up testing positive for marijuana. So he gets caught for being a druggie after a very tough fight. And by the way, that was against Albright. That was a guy who was about as big as him, a guy his own size, and he struggled. But when he fights, smaller, shorter guys like Lemos and Beranchyk, all of a sudden he looks like $1 million. So is that the top rank marketing or matchmaking that's making him look better than what he actually is? I don't know. We'll have to see. But that Albright fight still is his worst so far. His worst moment, rather. His attributes, speed, power. Again, the power, I've got that discussion with people in the Discord. Some people say his power is overrated. Again, he was fighting a guy who was coming down in weight against Lemos. Pedraza was done and over with. Beranchyk looked completely smaller Keyshawn Davis looked like a middleweight there compared to Beranchyk. But I still think he hits quite hard, just based off the eye test and the impact of his shots. I do think he's got some power. And amateur pedigree. I mean, remember, this guy got to the finals of the Olympics. Although I think some people said that the semifinal was controversial. I mean, they often are. There's always one controversial result in the Olympics once you get to the final. So I'm not too sure about that. But he did end up getting a silver medal. Not bad. Yeah. So compared to some of these other guys, he's actually quite up there with his amateur pedigree, which might serve him well. Yeah.
Yeah. They love him around here. So.
You talk about Virginia.
I've never seen a guy knock a person. Yeah, for the moment, yeah. I've never seen a person knock a person out with a body shot with a pinky shot to the kidney, but or not the kidney, the liver.
Uh-huh.
But that's where that body shot landed, and I'm not the guy that received it. So, but the fact that he landed as clean as he did, and it was a counter shot that he timed well. Regardless of how it landed, the circumstances that some people question, he was in position. I think he knew he wanted to throw that punch before he did. I don't think it was reactionary. I think he planned it. Whereas some some punches are natural, counter reactions. He knows he knows what he's doing, and so I'm just gonna wrap up with the fact that solid, good fighter with all the attributes he's saying. He definitely looks like he's willing to fight all the guys around, and he looks like he's got the skills to give them all a tough fight.
Mm-hmm. It would seem so. We'll keep our eye on Keyshawn Davis, see what happens. His flaws. What are some of his flaws? Is he Looney Tunes? Is he a nut bag, a crank? We saw what he said on ESPN. The guy spent a couple of, I don't know if it was days or months at the home because of some mental issues that he has. He also has gone into great detail about how he's never going to fight his fellow lightweight Shakur Stevenson because that's my bro. And I'm thinking, listen, like Abdullah Mason said, unless you're blood, there should be no problems in fighting. These guys got low self-esteem. They're too immature, and they know that if they fight each other, they won't be friends again because they take boxing personally as opposed to it being a job or in a friendly competition. And when I say friendly, obviously not friendly in the sense that they're playing in there, that they really will be trying. They would be trying to hurt each other, but the point is, it's a fight in a controlled environment. It's not a real fight. So, but these guys don't understand that. Another flaw of his, too much of the Philly shell defense. When you're standing constantly in that Philly shell, you're gonna be hit by jabs, and unless you're James Storm or Floyd Mayweather or even Georgie Benton, and nowadays these guys don't fight enough to refine that style. That's another flaw with Keyshawn Davis.
Yep.
He's got under 20 fights, but he's only fighting about 2-3 times a year. Back in the 90s, and prior to that, he would have been fighting 5-6 times a year. So he's not developed. Yep. So that Philly shell, it might work in sparring or against lower level guys, but once he fights some of the better jabbers out there, I think it's going to be a liability. And,
well, some of those better jabbers are going to have timing with their jab. They're not just going to jab it as, okay, throw the jab so I can Philly shell you. No, that's not. That's what you do sometimes in the gym, right? Because you're practicing that move so that they're throwing it at certain levels so you can get used to it. That's what some levels of sparring is in the gym. In a fight, that's not what they're doing. They've got a game plan in mind of how they want to use that jab. So it's going to throw you off.
That's right. It's a great point, man. That's a great point. Again, like you said, too much practicing because they're not fighting enough, but they're practicing, and so it gives them a false sense of confidence. The third problem or flaw, as I see it with Keyshawn Davis, is a lack of volume. Again, he fought Albright. He's the guy who gave him the most trouble so far, and Keyshawn Davis wasn't letting his hands go enough. Whenever he would, it would be every once in a while he would flurry to the body, but he wasn't enough consistency in there. Again, I cite a guy like Lamont Roach, a guy who stands not in the pocket, but stands in front of his opponent, mid-range, never really running. He's always like about 1.5 feet away from his opponent. That's the way it should be done. To me, that's elite level of boxing, not running around or waiting around for a guy to throw so you can counter him. You got to create the action in there. And I think that's one of Keyshawn Davis's problems. And finally, we get to 2 more things. He's ace in the hole. What's his ace in the hole? I'm not trying to be funny here, but I do think privilege. We saw what happened prior to the Berenchik fight. Somebody sent a fruit basket to Keyshawn Davis, some watermelon, banana, which is delicious, by the way. I don't understand what the problem was, along with a note saying, hopefully this makes you jump higher or something like that. Immediately, they jumped on the fact that it was Berenchik who sent it, which would be idiocy. I don't know. I understand why they think somebody would be so brazen with that. Then they finally switched it up and said, well, we don't really care. We don't really care. But for all the not caring about it, they sure were talking about it a lot in the build-up to the fight, to the point where ESPN on the fight night did a whole big expose on the fruit basket, Fruitgate basket. Who sent the fruit basket? And I'm thinking, oh boy. They're not even questioning who did it. They're not questioning the fact that maybe somebody within Davis's camp might have done. No. They just went along with it about how Keyshawn Davis was the victim. And to me, that is a clear red flag that Keyshawn Davis is the next Shakur Stevenson for ESPN and Top Rank. They're going to build him up. They're going to protect him. He can do no wrong. And when he struggles the next time, all the people that are going to buy into the brainwashing of how good this guy is, if his career continues in the same trajectory, they're going to be shocked. Oh my God, what happened? I thought he was the best. Well, you got to look at the fights and judge by yourself. You can't go by what ESPN is saying. So what I'm saying is Keyshawn Davis might end up being a very good fighter in the future. So far, he hasn't proven it yet, and ESPN is making it out as if he has, and they're giving him a lot of privilege, and that might actually extend to the judges as well in a future fight if it's too close or whatever to call, like they did with Shakur Stevenson and Edwin Dos Santos. So to me, that is one of his aces in the hole, privilege. And as it pertains to a perfect fight for him, again, Gervonta Davis. I think if Keyshawn Davis manages to solidify his stance a little bit more, be a little bit more composed, tighten up his game, I think he could beat Tank Davis. Again, if Tank Davis doesn't knock him out, what's he going to do? Yeah, if Tank Davis doesn't knock him out, Chief, what's he going to do? What's plan B? Well,
as a test fight, because he just got a title and he doesn't even have 15 fights, I would venture the fact that if it wasn't already happening, a rematch with Zepeda and Farmer, the Devin Farmer would be a really good test for him to see what his all-around skills are. Because now you've got a former world champion as a southpaw who's been in with just about everybody. He's proven himself to be a well-rounded fighter, both being aggressive and fighting in the pocket with Zepeda or a boxer. And see what kind of game plan comes about and then see what he's able to do. Kind of like what Austin Trout was for both the Charlo brothers. We knew that he wasn't going to beat them, but we knew they weren't going to look good against him. So how are they going to look compared to other people that have beaten him? And that's why I would put him in place of Tank Davis.
Okay.
For
Well,
his perfect fight.
I just asked the people in the chat what rating do they give Keyshawn Davis out of 10. Chief, what do you say?
I mean, again, all right, because he just won his first title, a 6 or a 6-7 would be an acceptable. But I mean, other than that, at the moment, he's passed every test. So between 6, 7, and 8, I'm leaning towards 6, 7. Just won a belt. I'm sorry, knocking a guy out with a pinky shot to the liver just seems a little bit suspicious.
Okay, you keep going right there.
Well, I mean, it would have been a solid shot had it landed flush all the way through. But I've just never seen. Look, that's the weakest bone in the hand, and that clipped his kidney, and that dropped the guy down for a 10 count. Okay, I'm not trying to say he doesn't have power, but that's elite power right there. When the weakest bone in your hand causes a knockout punch to an organ, that's elite power. Okay, so he's just not up there yet, based off of accomplishments. Not even 15 fights, just got a title. Like you said, it's kind of protected to the level of the title. So I can see him being an 8 through 10 a year or two down the road, especially to pick up his career. But right now I'm saying 6, 7 because he's just not quite there yet. And not enough.
People in the chat are saying, like, for example, Manos de Dinamita says 7. King KO says 6.5. Lalo Soto Gaming says 6. He's got no impulse control. OG Blaze says 7. Impala #CCD says 7. I'm going to have to concur with you guys and what Chief said. Between 6 and 7, we can't do the 0.5 and all that, so we're just going to put it at 7. I think he's a solid 7.
Okay.
Might end up working his way to 8 next year, or excuse me, this year, depending on how he's matched up. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think he's got potential for an 8 easily, but he hadn't done it yet. Part of this ranking is accomplishments, and he just hasn't fought the right people yet.
Yeah, I agree. But I mean, again, all that's coming. So we'll see what happens with Keyshawn Davis. Don't forget to hit that like, fellas. Hit the like. It really helps us out. Hold on a second. Let me just open up something here because something shut down. So yeah, that's a 7 there for Keyshawn Davis. Let's go to the next fighter here. Let's go to another Davis. We got to differentiate here. We're talking about Gervonta Tank Davis, the face of American boxing, as they wouldn't stop saying during the telecast for the Roach fight. He's 30 years old. He's got a 30-0 record with 1 draw and 28 knockouts. He stands at 5 feet and a half inches tall with a 67.5-inch reach, and he's rated number 1 at lightweight by Ring Magazine. Now, number 1 doesn't mean he's the champ. There's no champion according to Ring Magazine so far. But yeah, Tank Davis is right there. Real quick.
Just means everybody else left the division. He's the only one left.
There you go, yeah. Real quick, shout out to Mars Boxeo for his contribution with the super chat. I forgot to read it. He says, Keyshawn Davis is another one-dimensional FBA. Haney 2.0 with a little power. The reporter asked him what his game plan was against Denis Beranchyk, and he said, I'm big, mine. Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to say there, Chief, about the Beranchyk win. If you say that, Beranchyk was a smaller guy, people say, well, that doesn't really matter. Yeah, it does matter because even Keyshawn Davis said that to Beranchyk in one of the press conferences. He said, man, you're too small. Like Devin Haney used to tell his opponents, you're too small. So evidently Keyshawn Davis believed he was bigger than Beranchyk and that was going to be an advantage. So again, I want to see a Keyshawn Davis fight guys his size from now on.
People said for years size matters. So I mean,
there you go. Tank Davis fans say the same thing now. They agree with the rehydration clauses because he's too small. He's a little guy.
Yep.
So yeah, so Tank Davis is not the champ at lightweight, but he's rated number 1. So if he fights one of the number 2 or 3 guy, he could become the champ. His top wins include Jose Pedraza all the way back in 2016, Mario Barrios, Isa Cruz, and Ryan Garcia. Although that Mario Barrios and Ryan Garcia, there should be an asterisk next to them because there was a rehydration clause in those fights. So we gotta note that. His worst moment so far in his career, well, it used to be the Isa Cruz fight, but now it's the gift draw versus Roach. And it's all the more egregious because of what happened in the fight. Not only that he failed to throw over, he threw up less than 300 shots. The fact that he kept getting hit over and over with head-snapping shots throughout the fight. The fact that he took a knee after he suffered 2 light taps. The fact that he ran to his corner and they wipe his face off when it's illegal to do so. The fact that the New York State Athletic Commission said there was nothing wrong with that, thus setting a horrible precedent. That has to be his worst moment so far.
Yeah, it was like I said in the chat when we were talking about this. I had a very strong suspicion this wasn't going to be overturned based off the fact there was no foreign substance abuse involved, because that's the only... I'm not the end-all be-all historian. I don't recall a situation where a fight was overturned without that. That's all I'm saying. If there is one, please let me know. I'll be happy to go back and research and correct myself. But those are the only situations I've seen where situations have been turned. Camacho and Greg Haugen at one point in time was a no contest. At one point in time, it literally was. You go box rec, it's not. But the Davis and not Davis, Garcia and Haney fight has been overturned. We've seen this happen. So since there was no foreign substance, I was like, this is going to be a far reach for the B side to get overturned on the A side. I hate to quote Mayweather like that. On the A side's card, on the A side's network, on the A side's show in New York, of all places, which is not, it used to be the mecca of boxing, but it's never been the mecca of honesty and truthfulness. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to digress so I don't take too long. But yeah, this was definitely the worst moment of his career so far.
Mars Boxeo says that ringside reporter, I don't know if he's talking about Habib or what's his name of the other guy, he's got a Hispanic name. I can't believe I'm zoning out. Anyway, they said that there was an Azuma Nelson fight overturned in 2001. I don't know which one that is. I didn't even know he was still fighting in 2000. I know he had the Jeff Fenech fight for charity, I think, in 2003 or 4. But I didn't know he was still fighting in 2001. Anyway,
yeah, I'm not getting out of bed to go downstairs with my sickened condition to go look this up. So I would appreciate if it gives a reference for me to look later. And I'm not saying I don't believe him. I would like to, because I don't remember him fighting after he lost to Junior Hernandez. I don't remember him fighting until
there's got to be an example. But anyway, we could go all day with this situation here. The attributes that Tank Davis possesses. What are some of his best attributes? Well, he's got speed. Again, there's a lot of speed in this list. He's got power. Again, some people say it's overrated, but I still think it's there. I still think he's heavy-handed. Certainly more heavy-handed than some of the guys we're going to be taking a look at. Or at least, hey, listen, there's no doubt he's heavier-handed than Shakur Stevenson. That's for sure. And he's actually got pretty good reflexes. When he wants to and starts back foot benching it the way he did in certain spots against Barrios and against Ryan Garcia, he's actually pretty elusive. And a lot of guys, not named Isa Cruz or Lamont Roach, become hesitant when he starts dancing around the ring because they don't know when that quick counter is coming.
Right.
As it pertains to his flaws, low output. Again, that's already been documented and it was highlighted in the Lamont Roach fight. Is he one-dimensional, though? That's a big question because he never adjusted against Lamont Roach or against Isa Cruz. He was just doing the same thing over and over. And what do they say, Chief? That the mark of stupidity is repeating the same mistakes over and over? Something like that? So
Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again with expecting a different result.
There you go. I mean, we substitute insanity for mediocre skills. And I don't know if Davis fits in. Although, again, Chief, I give credit for Gervonta Davis when he fought Frank Martin. He walked him down. Again, he wasn't the best example of an aggressive fighter, Golovkin-esque type shit, but he did walk him down and got a knockout. But he
did the same thing to Rolly. Even though Rolly's not much of a world-class fighter on most of our radars, he was patient. Some people say Rolly was outboxing him. Okay, I'm not going to say whether he was carrying Rolly or not, but he was patient and he waited, and he knew that Rolly was going to make a mistake, and when he did, he capitalized.
Mm-hmm.
That's the plus of that fight. If there's minus, we're not here to analyze that fight. The plus of that fight is what happened. He was patient, he waited, mistake was made, he countered, he won.
There you go. Still, I gotta ask, that he was fighting as a counterpuncher there, and I'm thinking when his back's against the wall, can he turn it up? And he couldn't against Isaac Cruz or against Lamont Roach. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens if there is a rematch. And the last flaw here is he bitch made, like Shakur Stevenson. Okay, he might not, he might get the knockout, but that's only really because he's got the power. And again, I hate to do this, I hate to do that. Well, if he didn't have this, he would be that, because he does have power. That's the thing, as we can't take it away from him. But he was also arguing a lot with the referee. He did this too in the Ryan Garcia fight. He would get hit with a good shot, he would clinch. Something would happen that he didn't like, and he would turn to the referee and really make a big show out of it, like complaining. Then he was arguing with his corner. We know he's got low impulse control outside the ring. I think bitch made is just another word too, for another term for mentally unstable. And what do you think, Chief? Is he bitch made?
Well, I mean, we've now used this term in more than one context. So based on, and again, we're trying to pick the show up. So yes or no answer. I'm going to plead the fifth because I'm only going what's in the ring. Outside the ring impulses I don't care about right now for this particular show. So he's not bitch made as in back foot bitch and stuff like that you've alluded to before with this saying. But I do believe he tries to capitalize on privilege of letting the referee, hey, ref, do something. Hey, ref, do something. Like Floyd used to do.
There you go. I mean, although remember when the Mayweather got bit by, or allegedly bit by Maidana, he let out a woman-esque scream, a very female, high-pitched scream. That was kind of bizarre. But I don't remember, anyway, long story short, Tank Davis has shown certain tendencies where he's looking at the referee, trying to get out of the fight seemingly when things get tough and his power doesn't show up. So I think
trying to get the ref to turn the fight back his way.
Exactly, yeah. Privilege, perhaps. Well, that's the other thing, though. When we get to his ace in the hole, it's not his power, it's not his speed, his skills, it's his privilege, just like Keyshawn Davis. But this is a different type of privilege. He's one of the few guys in the United States that can draw wherever he goes, whether it's the West Coast or the East Coast. Now, pay-per-views, that's a different story. His pay-per-views bomb all the time, but they don't do well. But he does draw well at the gate. And because of that, a ticket seller nowadays in the United States, it's like a pearl. It's a golden goose. You don't want to lose it. And we saw what happened with the New York State Athletic Commission. It's privilege. I don't know how else to say it, Chief. I mean, they protected him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to try and make up too many words for this. I'm not feeling well. So privilege sounds 100%. He's not earning it all. It's based off of perception of as Paulie said, one of the best manufactured fighters ever. I'll leave it at that.
All right.
And I don't agree with Paulie very often. So when I do, obviously he's saying something 100%.
Right. I agree with Paulie a lot, by the way. It's just that when I disagree, I disagree all the way. No slight disagreements. It's kind of weird. It's either or. Yeah.
That's what I think I was trying to say. Thank you, sir.
No problem. Well, thank you. The perfect fight for Gervonta Davis, I actually think it's William Zepeda. I think he's all well made for Zepeda. He hits harder than Zepeda. He's going to be able to catch him in between those shots. Zepeda can get away from left hand so far. And whenever you get a volume puncher against a high-level boxer, well, I mean, a guy who's got good defense and fast hands and power, who's strong as well, usually doesn't bode well for the high-level output fighter. So, and on top of that, William Zepeda is an undefeated Mexican. We know how the American media loves to build up Mexicans as opponents for Americans and try to make it out to be like, oh, he just beat, the Julio Cesar Chavez of our generation, kind of like they did with Shakur Stevenson and Valdez. They try to build up Valdez into something he wasn't, and by proxy elevate Shakur Stevenson, and look where that went. So I think the Zepeda fight would be the perfect fight because he needs an undefeated Mexican on his record. All right, so finally, Chief, and the people out there at home as well, from out of 10, how would you rank Gervonta Tank Davis?
I unfortunately have to give him an 8.
What do you mean, unfortunately?
Well, I want to give him a 6 or a 7. I mean, but he's above a titleist. I mean, he's around a titleist. There is no champion in the division, so I can't give him a 9. I won't say it. I don't know why I can't give him a 9 or a 10 because my head's too foggy to be able to analyze that. But he's not a 6 or a 7, so I got to give him an 8. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, that's a good answer. I think I tend to agree there. I tend to agree. I'm tempted to give him a 7. He's a high level contender, but I think he's proven. Even though, again, somebody could counter with, well, yeah, he's had asterisks on his record, rehydration clauses and the like. But I still think he's up. Even in today's world of oversaturated belts, I do think he rises above that. So I think an 8. Let's see what the people are saying. LL says 10. All right. The Quack says 5. Earl Stevens says a 6. Josh says 7. Hold on a second. Lalo Soto says 6 for a 30-year-old prospect. That's a good point, actually. That's a good point. Jin Ryu says 7. I'm your leader. Shout out to him. Says 8. Mark says 3. Quack says he's literally fought nobody. Sergeant says 6. Brace says 7.5. Man, so the people, I mean, again, I said we're going to be doing it the democratic way. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give him an 8 just because we can't do the 0.5 whatever thing. But let's just say he's 7.5, if that makes any sense. I mean, consider it a 7.5. Hold on a second.
We're rounding up since we don't do the 0.5s, but we're acknowledging everyone that says 6 and 7 and not arguing their points against that.
So we'll give him an 8. There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
If you want to get all you guys, if you want to give them the 0.5, it'd be a solid 7 right now.
Exactly. There we go. Yeah. Put in their imaginations. They can do that. Fellas, don't forget to hit the like. It really helps us out. We're analyzing the lightweight and super lightweight divisions here. Chief, if you, I hear you, they're sort of struggling. Whenever you want to go, man, don't feel obligated to stay, all right, man? Your health comes first.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But I appreciate you being here, though. It's fun.
I appreciate you having me regardless of it all.
There you go. It's more fun when it's 2 people as opposed to just 1. Let's move on to the next fighter. Now we're in the super lightweight division. We go to Subriel, the homicide maniac Matias, 32 years old, with a record of 22 wins, 2 losses, and 22 knockouts. Either you stay away from his power or he beats you up. There's no ifs and buts about it. All his fights have ended by knockout, or stoppage rather. He stands at 5 feet, 8 inches tall with a 71.5-inch reach. And he's rated number 7 in the super lightweight division by Ring Magazine. His top wins include, listen, I'm going to butcher the names, but it is what it is. Bartrihan Jukenbayev, who was undefeated, I believe. Sonjahon Ergashev, who was also undefeated. And most recently, Gabriel Valenzuela in Puerto Rico about 2 weeks ago, I think. Valenzuela is the guy who beat Stevie Sparks, although controversially, I might add. But Matias just went in there and butchered this guy. I mean, you can't stand in front of Matias because he will just pump out that offense and beat guys up. His worst moment, though, well, he's got a couple. He's got the first loss, the loss in the first fight against Ananian, I don't know how to pronounce his name, although he had a good excuse for being flat in that fight because he had just come off the murder of Maxim Dadashev, that tragedy right there, so it's understandable. But his worst moments has to be looking doped up against Liam Paro and losing his title or whatever he had in that fight. By the way, I give the credit to somebody in Discord who said that, I forget who he was, so if you guys remember who he was, my apologies, but they said that Matias looked doped up in that Paro fight. And I have to agree. I give Paro credit for how he fought that fight, although he did a lot of clinching, though. Can't stand that clinching. But he still lost. Matias looked kind of flat, doped up. So yeah, he lost his one of his titles and his boogeyman status in the process. His attributes include stamina. That's listen, you can't take it away from him. Whatever happened in that Paro and Anian fight, this dude has a set of lungs on him. He's got a good chin. I remember Jukenbayev and Ananian, I think they hurt him or wobbled him, but he just keeps on coming. I don't know if it's because his guard, his stamina, whatever, but he has got good recuperative powers. So when I say chin, what I actually mean is endurance. He can endure a lot in there. And just like Zepeda, he's actually quite kind of heavy-handed for a high-volume type of guy. So those are some of his attributes right there. His flaws tends to be a little lethargic, like I said, looking doped up in there against Liam Paro. Poro's defense, again, a lot of that consists on a guard. And sometimes he will over-rely on that guard, and some of these punches get through, and they tend to bust him up and give the impression that he's getting hit more than he actually is. Doesn't always seem like he's blocking all the shots, so that's one of the flaws. And his age. How old did we say he was? 32? And again, some people might say 32, that's not old. Well, consider some of the guys we've been seeing so far. Shakur Stevenson, 27. Keyshawn Davis, 26. Zepeda, 27. By the time you're in your close to your mid-30s, that can be a liability, especially since he's not the fastest guy out there. So,
well, first of all,
yeah,
Jimmy's attested to this, and we all know this. Your cells don't regenerate nearly as well for healing or recovery from 25 to 27 and on. That's most people's peak. So he's 32, so he's not going to be able to recover as fast and everything else without special vitamins because the body just does not do that. Period. There's no more scientific argument. Second of all, aging is relative to the fighter. Regardless of the quality of competition, Vladimir Klitschko, I'm going to do this real quick. Vladimir Klitschko was fighting as a heavyweight his entire young adult life, fighting 200-plus pound men. Muhammad Ali was not. Yet, so Vladimir's getting punched by 200-plus pound men from the age of 16, all the way through his heavyweight career. Yet he still had more left at 38 than Muhammad Ali did. So it's relative. There's many factors you want to put into play, but it's a relative situation that you can't really analyze by just a number.
Yeah, that's a good point. Again, like you say, it's all relative, especially now with the supplements that people have. But I mean, again, regardless of the age, like I said, he's not the quickest guy out there. And as we've been seeing so far, there's a lot of speed in the lightweight and super lightweight divisions. And so we've already seen Subriel Matias struggle against a guy who's not the fastest in Paro. I can only imagine how he would look against Teofimo Lopez or some other guys. By the way, speaking of other guys, we got Gonzalo and Sobers jumping in. Guys, we're just analyzing the lightweight and super lightweight division. And then at the end, we give a guy a ranking out of 10. And then we, based off what the people say as well. So thank you for dropping by, guys. We're going to move through this list quickly here. We're going to try to do it in record time. So we're talking about Matias right now. The ace in the hole for Matias, his inside fighting. Again, there's a lot of guys, like I say, who are quick, got a lot of physical talent, but they don't know how to fight on the inside. They prefer to clinch, engage in the dark arts, the cheating arts. And so I think Matias, in this case, inside fighting actually is a plus. Very good short shots on the inside. Brings us to the perfect fight. The perfect fight for him, I think, Richardson Hitchins. Now, I'm not convinced that he beats Richardson Hitchins, but Hitchins we saw against Lemos couldn't do a darn thing with him on the inside. So I think that actually would be a good fight for Hitchins. I don't think Matias could beat Devin Haney, though, because Haney does have a good jab. But Hitchins, I think that's a good fight to make. So, guys, what do you think about Matias? How much do we give him out of 10?
Does he even have a title right now?
No. I think he had the WBO, which he lost against Paro. I think. Don't quote. I don't pay attention to the titles.
He's a former titleist. I'll put him at 7 because he's still. I think he'll line himself up to get another title shot soon.
Agreed, but I think without a title, based off the fact that 8's. Can you put the rankings up again? There they are. 8 actually says titleist, which he's not. So, not that he doesn't deserve to be considered one, but he's currently not at that level in his career, clearly. So we have to put him at that infamous 7.5. And he could be an 8, but he doesn't have a belt.
Well, I said 7 because he's lining himself up to be a titleist soon. You know what I'm saying? I said 7, not 8.
No, I'm right there with you. I want to put him at an 8, but he doesn't have the qualifications. He's not a low-level pound-for-pound guy right now. He doesn't have a title. So based off of our qualifications, I got to put him at I give him that extra 0.5.
Oh, okay.
which we're not supposed to do, but I'm giving them the 0.5 to acknowledge the fact I think he's qualified to be an 8. He just doesn't currently hold the qualifications of an 8.
Rules are made to be broken, Chief.
Dude, that's what I was gonna say. Chief's breaking all the rules today. I don't know what's going on with him. Did you take some Sudafed or something? Maybe that's why it's making you loopy or something. I don't know. Gonzalo, are you there? All right. We'll skip Gonzalo for the moment, and let's see what the people said in the chat. People are saying the Quacks is 6 or 7. Manos de Dinamita says Matias is a 6. Josh says 9. Okay, come on. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you guys. What was that? Who's it? Oh, Gonzalo. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm here, BDA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just
1 to 10 and what
in overall
just general ranking.
Overall skills, ability. Like, I don't know if you can see, I'm sharing the screen with you. I got a preliminary boxing rating scale here. Yeah, it's just like a simple list here. 0 to 3, 4 to 5, 6 to 7, 8, and 9 to 10. You can see the ratings there where each guy would fall. Most people are seeing 6 or 8. All right. Well, listen,
I still think he's very dangerous. Excuse me, my roommate's listening to Elvis Presley reruns, so hopefully you guys are not hearing that in the background.
That's all right.
I give him an 8 because he's dangerous, and he's a fighter that other fighters are probably going to avoid. Like Richardson Hitchins is probably going to drop that title, and he'll put a beating on you. So he's still very dangerous. Just because he lost one fight, maybe he changes up that style where he chooses to box less and just go back to what he does best is putting pressure and breaking you down. So I still think he's very dangerous.
Chitlin Distributor says 6.9. I don't like that number. Something dirty about that number. So I'm gonna go, Gonzalo, all due respect, most people are saying 7. So we're gonna have to go with 7 here for Subriel, the homicide maniac Matias. Don't forget to hit that like, fellas. Hit that like. We're ranking the lightweights and super lightweights here. By the way, I want to give because some people, as you can see, there might be some names missing here. So I want to give a shout out to some of the honorable mentions that didn't make the list. And those are Gary Antoine Russell, who just recently beat Rayo Valenzuela. Jack Catterall, who recently lost his title to Barboza, although Catterall wasn't a good run. Raymond Murataya at lightweight. He has been subpar in his last 2 fights, so I didn't include him, or 2 or 3 fights. Andy Cruz at lightweight, who's gonna undefeated up-and-comer gold medalist, talking about matching him up against his Olympic rival Keyshawn Davis, so we'll see what happens there. And Andy Hiraoka, half Japanese, half Jamaican, I think, or Haitian, I don't know what it is. But yeah, those are the guys that didn't make the list. Let's go on. Speaking of the list, let's go on to the next fighter in our rankings here, and we're talking about Arnold Barboza, the Pirate. It's a pirate name if I ever heard one, Barboza. 33 years old, 32-0 with 11 knockouts. He stands at 5 feet, 9 inches tall with a 72-inch reach. He's rated number 4 at super lightweight by Ring Magazine. His top wins include Alex Saucedo during the pandemic. That was actually a pretty good fight. Danielito Zorrilla, people forgot about him, Puerto Rican, who gave Regis Prograis all he could handle too in 2023, I want to say. Another win, Jolani Ndongeni. I don't know if I'm butchering his name, but this is a dude that went the distance against the aforementioned Murataya, made him look a little bad. He also, I think he went the distance with Haney. I forget. And I know for a fact he went the distance against Ernesto Tito Mercado, who's calling everybody out. Meanwhile, Barboza stopped him. And by the way, Ndongeni just recently pulled off an upset in Puerto Rico on the Matias undercard. So he's still going on strong. And Ndongeni, if you had to give him a ranking based off our scale here, he would definitely be a 5. He's a top-level journeyman, gatekeeper, whatever you want to call him. You can't take him lightly. And Barboza stopped him. And Barboza's known for his power, so that's a good win. That's all I'm trying to illustrate. And then recently he beat Jack Catterall, who's a tricky fighter, El Gato. So pretty good resume there from Barboza. His worst moment, however, was a gift win against Sean McComb. Goddamn potato eater. Made him eat his own words and actually beat him. he actually got, who remembers that Sean McComb fight? Because he was on the undercard of Haney Garcia, and I don't think many people.
It was unimpressive. You know, he kind of got schooled. It looked like.
But is it me or did he actually lost that fight clearly?
No, that was a gift. You know, keep it real.
There you go. Well, Sobers doesn't do anything but keep it real, so I don't know. You don't even have to say that. Gonzalo, what do you think? Or Chief too?
That's true.
As far as ranking, I'll give him an 8-2. He's
No, I'm talking. I asked the question about Macomb. Do you remember the Barboza Macomb fight? Do you recall it? It was on the undercard of Haney Garcia.
Yeah.
And what did you think? Do you think Barboza?
Some green trunks.
Yeah. Do you think
pieced up against the rope?
Do you think Barboza lost that fight?
I can't quite recall right now, but I remember he was eating some shots and he was getting backed up against the ropes.
Yeah, even if you think he won, anybody out there, he looked very bad, very ineffective against a long-limbed Sean McComb. So yeah, I don't know what happened in that fight, but he didn't look like. I mean, if the Catterall fight would have taken place before the McComb fight, you would have said, "Oh, in the build-up to the McComb fight, no, I don't give this McComb guy a chance." By the way, I think McComb hasn't fought since. That was April 2024. So I don't know if it's the powers that be that are keeping him on the bench. Maybe because of what he did against Barboza. I don't know. Maybe nobody wants to fight him because he's low risk, high risk, low reward. I don't know. His attributes, Barboza that is. Footwork. The guy actually knows how to move pretty well. He's a solid operator in there, as Paulo Malignaggi would say. He's got a lot of experience, as his resume indicates. He's fought all sorts of guys. He's fought boxer punchers, long-limbed guys like McComb. He's fought tricky southpaws like Jack Catterall. Sluggers like Alex Saucedo. So he's seen it all at this point, at 33 years of age.
He's got a nice reverse 2-1. He'll throw the right hand and he'll get extension on that jab. So it's like a 2-1 instead of 1-2. So he ends up throwing that jab as his final punch. Gets a lot of extension on it.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. And like I said, his experience is one of his attributes. Momentum. Don't overlook momentum. When a fighter is on a winning streak, the way he is, and again, like against the type of fighters he's fought, tends to build a lot of confidence. And you can see that confidence against Teofimo Lopez in the press conferences. This guy really believes he's going to win. As well he should. But what I'm saying is that belief that he has in himself could be the difference in, what am I saying? Yeah, in a tough fight or in a close fight. His flaws, however, he's got some flaws. Age. Like you saw there, 33 years of age compared to some of the guys we've seen and some of the guys we're going to see later on who are in their mid to late 20s. 33, it could be a problem. His other flaw is his inconsistency, rather, excuse me. He's hot and cold. He'll struggle against a guy like Saucedo and Zorrilla, but then he'll look good against a guy like Ramirez and win virtually every round. So I don't know what's up with Barboza. I don't know if he's maybe an incomplete fighter and that's why he struggles against certain styles. But he seems to be the quintessential hot and cold fighter. And last but not least, lack of head movement. If you rewatch that Zorrilla fight, he couldn't, and even the McComb fight too, he couldn't get out of the way of certain punches. When you're getting hit with the same punch over and over, I don't know what's wrong with you. He relies on his feet. His guard isn't really all that either. And yeah, that's one of the flaws, some of the flaws I've seen in Barboza. His ace in the hole. Snack. Excuse me. Snack. Did I say snack? Yeah, that's what I meant. Snack. He's part of the snack program. And you know what we think about the whole snack thing here? We look at it kind of iffy.
Yeah, that snack pack.
That he's on that snack pack. Now, the question is, though, is he on the premium snack plan? Like Devin Haney. I think what people allegedly, I don't know if it's true or not, but that snack plan, the premium platinum snack plan, if a guy beats you, this is what I've heard on the internet, that they can do a little, a couple of moving the contacts and a couple of calls so that your opponent tests positive. I don't know. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, that's his ace in the hole right there. And the perfect fight for him, well, it's coming up. Teofimo Lopez. We know what they say about Teofimo Lopez. He struggles against guys that don't give him openings, and Barboza's a wily guy in there. So, could be an interesting fight for him. So finally, guys,
another hot and cold fighter.
That's right. There you go. Hey, that's a good point. No, you're right. You're right. Although not as whenever he's cold, he's not as cold as Barboza. But you're right, though. He's also similar fighters. That's why I like that fight. It's similar styles, similar demeanors. So finally, guys, the ranking, and people out there at home too. We asked you in the chat to give him a ranking out of 10. Where would you rank Arnold Barboza?
The belt he has, it's a like an interim, right?
I think so. Yeah.
So I'd say he's a 7. He's almost a titleist. He's almost, if he gets this win over Teofimo, then we put him at 8.
Right.
You know, maybe 9. Nah.
You know what? In the future, I'm going to take away titleists because titleists nowadays are technically contenders. So number 8 should be reserved for, like I said, low level wrong pound for pound guys. I'm gonna take off titleists here.
All right, yeah. So he's a 7 then.
Yeah.
Maybe a 6. I'll give him a 6, bro, because he got a little gift before. And the Ramirez he beat was the ghost of Ramirez. So.
Yeah. Well, like Gonzalo keeps saying, the guy Ramirez, ever since he lost to Taylor, he looks listless, homeless, with the beard and the hair. He looks like Che Guevara after
he got that swollen face, like he drinks a lot.
Yeah, he looks a little bit like Che Guevara after a couple of months in the jungle. Gonzalo, how would you rate Barboza out of 10?
We're going up to 10, right? So I give him an 8.
Gonzalo's being very generous. 8 is low level pound for pound, Gonzalo. That's like top 15, top 20.
Oh, okay. So this is in general, pound for pound. Okay, well, no, I just give him an 8.
All right. Most people in the chat, by the way, King KO in the chat. King KO in the chat keeps calling him Barbozo. I mean,
Barbozo.
I like when people twist the names to denigrate a fighter. Barbozo. Oh man.
It was Cambozo. Now it's Barbozo.
Oh yeah. Hey, fucking Sobers. See, that's why we need a guy like Sobers who's high and is looking at things in a different perspective. He picks up on these things. Barbozo, damn, that's true. Is he gonna pull off a Cambosos and beat Lopez? That's a good question.
The return.
Right.
Oh shit.
But anyway, listen. Most people are saying 7, and I tend to agree. It's a lot of 7s here. George Costanza's in the house. 7. All right. Let's move on to the next fighter on our list. Fellas, don't forget to hit that like. It really helps us out. And let's move on to another fighter. Oh, this is a favorite of the BDA viewership. Richardson Hitchins. And no, don't bring up the nickname that people give him. You know, like some people call him Barbozo. Barboza, they call him Barbozo. Hitchins, they call him something else. And we're not going to say it because it's a bad word. But anyway, he's 27 years old, 19-0 with 7 big knockouts. At 5 feet 10 inches tall, he's actually one of the tallest guys in this list with a 74-inch reach, and he's rated number 3 in the super lightweight division. By the way, can you guys clear something up for me? I've seen on Twitter people calling him Africa. I think that's his nickname, but I thought he's Haitian. Or I thought he was Haitian.
It's probably a joke or something.
There's nothing funny about claiming fake African heritage. That's like stolen valor type shit. I don't play that.
Well, because he's dark as hell. You know what I mean?
He is, on top of all the guys in this list, he's one of the darkest skinned guys out there. Tank Davis.
That's what I would assume. It's just like a joke that kind of stuck. You know what I mean?
Well, as long as they don't call him Amistad, then we should be good. So he's not rated number 3 in the super lightweight division. His top wins include Argenis Mendes, always a tricky fighter, Jose Zepeda, also a tricky southpaw, and Liam Paro recently took away that title from him. His worst moment, however, remains his gift win over Lemos. Lemos, a short Argentinian fighter, fighting one way, that's forward. And Richardson Hitchins just couldn't keep up with the guy. He had to clinch a lot. Lemos landed the cleaner shot.
He had a third coach in the ring, too, on the commentator table. Clarissa Shields was screaming at him what to do.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Clarissa Big Mama Shields was there, trying to egg him
Big
on.
Mama?
She was trying to coach him. You're right. I forgot about that. I think Richardson Hitchins is doing well.
So that's a kill switch. Turn it on.
Yeah. Did she say that?
Yeah, when he hit him, he hurt him. I think it was like near the end, like the 9th or 8th.
Uh-huh.
He had a moment where he caught him with the uppercut. She was like, "That's a kill switch. Turn it on."
The
And
kill
he did
switch.
kind of try to go for it, but
Yeah, well.
what's his name beat his ass the rest of the round after that.
Well, there you go. So yeah, that remains his worst moment right there. In terms of attributes, speed. The guy is very quick. He does have good reflexes, getting out of the way of incoming fire. And the footwork. Okay, yeah, sometimes he'll run or whatever, or move excessively, but thanks to that footwork, Leon Paro couldn't catch him. And again, that Leon Paro fight was very uneventful, but I still think Hitchins was one step ahead of him, and I think part of that had to do with both guys are boxer punchers to a lesser extent, or not boxer punchers, but they stand there and try to counter. They're counter punchers, and Hitchins just did it better. And I think that footwork was a difference against Paro. His flaws, well, like we keep saying, he lacks a second gear. Against Lemos, instead of stepping it up, he stepped it back and back foot bitched it and clinched a lot, which brings us also to mediocre inside skills. Just couldn't do anything against Lemos on the inside. I mean, I think in spots he competed with the guy, but when you have to clinch that much, it means you got no inside game. And the lack of power, too, is going to be a problem because, as we're going to be seeing here, I mean, even at lightweight, guys like Tank Davis and Keyshawn Davis, especially Keyshawn Davis, who's looks to me like a natural 140-pounder, I still think at 140 pounds would hit harder than Hitchins. So that lack of power could be a problem. Could be a problem. He's acing the hole. He's got a good right hand. Good, flashy scoring blow that really attracts the judges, really creates excitement with them. And that's what he worked against Leon Paro to get that win. So I think that good straight right hand is something that he should keep working at to refine it more and keep winning. Perfect fight in terms of stylistic matchups. I think he could beat Barboza. A little bit like the Paro fight. Because let's not forget, Barboza versus Catterall, there was a lot of staring. And also a lot of clinching. Both guys falling into each other, not knowing what to do, and just clinching. So I think he's got the right style for a guy like Barboza. So, fellas, what do you think? How much and people at home too in the chat, out of 10, how would you rate Richardson Hitchins?
6.
Yeah, he's a 6.
Who said 6?
I did.
Oh, come on. Come on, man.
I'm
6? Really?
I agree.
As much as everyone likes to argue with me, no one has pointed out, scoring-wise, what he did to beat Paro. Paro didn't do much in the second fight. In the second half. That doesn't win a fight. No one's pointed out how many clean punches he may have outlanded him by. No one said how he dictated the pace. No one said how his defense was better. All the criteria that you need on how he would have closed the show to pull that fight out in the second half. No one has, especially in our chats, has ever come up with what he did to counteract Paro's volume. Even though he's doing not much was landing clean, I get it. And then there was a lot of clinching afterwards, and I hate that style. But it's not like anything he did offensively neutralized a single ounce of that. And everybody that tells me that they think that he won based off of everything that the mainstream says has not scientifically broken down an ounce of intelligence to tell me how he actually pulled that fight out.
Sounds like a challenge, right?
And
there.
that's the biggest fight he's had to date so far.
Sounds like you're throwing the gauntlet at the people, and myself as well, by the way, challenging us to tell you how Hitchins won that fight. Okay, but you're saying 6. So just to keep in mind in the BDA rating scale here, 6 and 7, that's a contender, whether low or high level. So you think he's okay? So what level of contender is he?
No, I don't think he's a terrible fighter. I just think that one fight to put him towards an 8, he shouldn't have won. So, I mean, I don't consider him a low-level pound-for-pound fighter anyway. So even if he's a titleist and he won that title, there's still the other fact that he still needs to be considered a lower-level pound-for-pound fighter. And I don't think anyone that's going to argue with me on whether he should have won the fight or not is going to add into that argument that he should be a low-level pound-for-pound fighter. So I would say he's. I say 6. Fine, give him a 7. But it's between 6 and 7, and he's just not pound for pound or elite. So,
well, people are agreeing with you, Chief. People in the chat, Brotown's Boxing, Broton Boxing says 6. Chitlin Distributor says 2. I think I don't know if he's being facetious. Manos de Dinamita says 6. And there were other people before that. I can't scroll up here for some reason. We're seeing 6. So, okay, you know what? The Chief and the chat has spoken. We're going to give him a 6. He's a contender, but compared to some of these other guys, I could see.
got
I
some
get
work to do.
the power fight. Like Chief makes a good point. The power fight was very close, and I can only imagine what guys like some of these other guys like Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney. I think they beat him. I think they're one level above him. So you're right.
He's very boring. He's very boring. He clinches too much. He talks a big game. Then when he has the opportunity to close the show, after talking the big game, he doesn't do it. I remember the Zepeda fight. There was room for him to close the show and make a statement, and he decided to leave it on the table and play the safer route.
Yeah.
So that leads me to believe he doesn't trust in his chin, and he's just boring. I give him a 7.
That's a good point, Gonzalo, because I remember saying that too. I think we talked about it in the show that he was content with just winning the decision against Zepeda. And as we've seen with guys like Keyshawn Davis, they go for the knockout, and people pay attention to that. Whereas Richardson Hitchins, he might be one of those guys that's going to complain about, the money, how come I can get... he was there screaming. He was in the stands when the first City of Wolves press conference, when you had Teofimo Lopez, you had Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero, and he's there in the bench, screaming, trying to get attention. I'm thinking, there's a reason why you're not on that dais up there with the rest of the gang. It's because you're boring.
Damn.
You didn't give people a show in the Zepeda fight. So Gonzalo brings up a very good point as well. Let's move on to the next fighter in our list here. Don't forget to hit the like. By the way, where are we at with the likes? 74 likes. 6 more people hit that like. We're golden, all right? 6 people hit it, so we get to 80, and we're gonna be happy. Otherwise, we're gonna be skipping a whole bunch of fighters here. We're gonna end the show. How about that? Don't forget to hit that like, fellas.
Should
Really
have
helps
skipped
out.
Richardson Hitchins.
Yeah, we should have skipped Hitchins, Shakur Stevenson. No, I'm kidding. Let's go to the next fighter in the list. The next fighter in the list, Alberto Puello from the Dominican Republic. Ya tú sabes. 30 years old, 24-0 with 10 big knockouts. He stands at 5 feet 9.5 inches tall with a 71-inch reach, and he's rated number 2 in the super lightweight division, according to Ring Magazine. His top wins include, again, I'm going to butcher the first name, so I'm just going to go with I'm just going to say Akhmedov. He beat Akhmedov, who's a tough guy, high-volume guy. He beat Gary Anton Russell in 2024, I want to say, and recently beat Xandor Martin, who's a slippery fish, let me tell you. And Puello's got wins over all those guys, so it's a very good resume, or dossier, as I like to say now. His worst moment, though, precisely that fight against Martin. He struggled, he got hit a lot, and a lot of people feel that he shouldn't have won that fight. And I'd have to rewatch it and rescore it because I'm not sure where I stand on that. His attributes. He's got versatility, very long-rangey guy, but he can also fight on the inside as well as on the outside. See the Gary Anton Russell fight where he did a little bit of both. Stamina. Again, he fought Gary Anton Russell and kept up right there with him. And we just saw Gary Antoine Russell beat Rayo Valenzuela with his activity, whereas Puello punched with Antoine Russell, so he's got a full tank of gas in there to work with. And his whipping shots, because of those long arms, he's got some whipping shots that really seem to create excitement with the judges. So it's not always easy to land those punches on the inside when you got long arms, but he manages to do it. His flaws, he's got a couple of them. Lack of head movement. Now, he did weave a couple of times against Gary Antoine Russell, but he seems to be pretty straight up sometimes. Again, watch the Akhmedov fight, the Russell fight, and the Xandor Martin fight. He lacks lateral movement, too. Oftentimes, he'll just back and retreat in a straight line and end up in the ropes. And that brings us to the third point, which is he tends to be a little complacent. By going into the ropes and just staying there, makes fights closer than they should be. Which brings us to the next point. He's acing the hole. The judges like him. All the top wins that I mentioned, the Akhmedov fight, the Gary Anton Russell fight, the Martin fight, guess what? They were all split decisions. So all his wins, at least on the scorecards, have been very, very close, very competitive. The judges can't all agree that he won the fight. Again, I don't know if they were all split decisions. I think maybe one of them might have been majority. I forget, but I think overall they were disputed decisions. So the judges seem to like him. Again, that might have to do with the way he throws his shots. I don't know, but there's something he does in there that they enjoy and they credit. And the perfect fight for him, also in a realistic world, because he's segregated over there at the PBC, the Gary Antoine Russell rematch. And in the next, whenever the PBC puts on their next pay-per-view, in 4 months from now or whatever, maybe they can put Puello in there. Maybe they can fit him in for another fight. Although maybe that's too much to ask for the PBC, by the way. Two fights a year? I don't know. So, guys, in the chat and the panel as well, how would you rate Alberto Puello out of 10? Let me go to the chat, too, to see what they have to say here. He's a solid 8. No, I think they're talking about King Chaos' Martins exposed the guy. Sargent says 7. By the way, look at Sargent's picture. His avatar. He's got Teofimo Lopez.
Is that Teofimo?
Yeah, that's how he was dressed at the last press conference. I think is Teofimo Lopez trying to tell us something? Because in the first press conference, he had another like weird leather vest, no shirt underneath. No, sorry, he had the lapels or whatever they call it, the like a farmer, no shirt underneath. Now he's dressed like a cowboy with the leather vest and no shirt underneath. What's going on here?
I don't know. He's dressed like a stripper who works at Swinging Richards.
Exactly, man. What the fuck?
Victor Camacho of this generation.
Hey, that's a good comparison right there. All right, so people are saying
definitely would have dressed that way.
People are saying
I don't know what it is. Maybe you think his dad's dressing him up?
Ah, come on. Ah, jeez, Luis.
Okay,
Look at that body.
Damn. Oh my God. Now, what did he say? Oh my God. Is that what he said when he saw his abs? Some weirdo stuff.
Spraying him with water. He has like a little spray bottle with water on it. Look at that body.
Yeah, I don't think it was water. I think it was oil. I think he oiled him up.
That Diddy oil.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I didn't say that, man. But, all right. So people in the chat for Alberto Puello are saying 7. Some people are saying 5. So guess what? We're going to split the difference.
He's a 7.
I'm going to give him a 6, man. Because, again, he struggled in a lot of fights. He's consistent,
Well,
though.
and the other part,
Yeah.
the other part to try and raise someone up to an 8 is the fact that not just should they have a title, they should actually be in the argument of pound for pound.
Yes, exactly.
And if that's not where this guy is, then 7's the highest he should get.
I would agree.
I think I might be scoring. Based on your guys' criteria, I'm probably scoring 1 higher than they should be getting. So if I'm inclining to give them an 8, maybe it's a 7. Then I would do the same for all my prior picks. But no, I think he pulled out the. I'm sure. In my opinion, he pulled out the against the Spaniard.
Martin.
He did a good job. I like the clean counters. Like you were saying, the whipping shots. I thought he clearly won that fight. And you could also consider that. Yeah, the Spaniard came to win, but then this guy also he pulled it out. So when a guy comes to win, it's very hard to deny him. And the Spaniard dude wanted to become champion, but this dude he found his groove and started snapping the Spaniard's head back. I thought it was a good win.
Yeah, but I gotta expose you a little bit there, Gonzalo. I gotta expose some of the behind the scenes conversations we've been having. You have said in the past, odio a los pinches españoles, you said, porque nos la metieron. I said, come on, that never happened. So, no, I'm kidding. No, Gonzalo never said that. But no, you know what? I'd have to rewatch the Martin fight, Gonzalo, because I do think Puello started doing better later in the fight. But again, even the Akhmedov fight and the Russell fight, and again, those guys aren't pushovers, but there's something shaky about him. Like it's only a matter of time before somebody takes his title away. So I agree with the people in the chat. I'm going to give him a 6. And I wouldn't argue with a 7. I wouldn't argue. But for the sake of what people are saying in the chat, well, we're going to give him a 6. And I got to tell you, fellas, let me read that. Hey, one more person hit that like and we're at 80. Otherwise, we're out of here. Otherwise, here's what we're going to do then. People don't want to hit that like. One more person doesn't want to hit that like. Check this out. Check out what I got.
No, please. No.
Look at that, baby. Look at that. 1 o'clock at night, man. Getting this work. Look at that, baby. Look at that. Jesus Christ.
First of all, he's taking the Lord's name in vain. But that's not the worst part. The worst part, why is he zooming in to Lopez's abs and crotch? That's his father, for Pete's sakes. What's going on? What is going on? And then don't forget that the story on Teofimo Lopez and his father is that they were sleeping in the same bed up until he was 21 or something. Teofimo's Jr. So something's going on here. I don't know what, and I don't want to know what.
Play my game, yeah. You want to play? We'll play hard too. Go!
All right, listen. We gotta continue with the list here. Don't forget to hit that like, fellas. Did somebody hit the like? Hey, one more. Okay, there you go. 5 people hit the like. All right, that was more than I expected. Shout out to the 5 people that hit the like. Really appreciate it. Let's continue on with the list here. Almost done. The next guy in our list. Oh, this is another fan favorite. Based on the reception he got in the last City of Wolves press conference, Devin the Dream Haney, whose last year was not a dream, actually a nightmare that he wants to wake up from. He's 26 years old, 31-0 with 15 big knockouts, stands at 5 feet 8 inches tall with a 71-inch reach, and according to Ring Magazine, he's rated number 1 at super lightweight. Not the champ, mind you, but he is rated number 1 in the super lightweight division. Top wins include Jorge Linares, Joseph Jojo Diaz, George Kambosos, whom he took the titles away from in 2022 twice, very easily, and beating Regis Prograis at 140 pounds. So very good resume there for such a young fighter. His worst moment, however, getting beat up by and shitting his pants versus Ryan Garcia. I mean, that is, in terms of, the last time I remember a guy getting clowned that much was either Deontay Wilder or Adrian Broner. I don't remember another guy taking that many hits from the web browsers, the internet what do they call it? Info notes, whatever they call them. So yeah, guys, do you agree that that's his worst moment? Because some people would say, well, what about when he got that gift decision against Lomachenko? He didn't shit his pants against Lomachenko. What do you guys think? The silence is it all. That's a tacit agreement right there.
Well, he is undefeated still, huh? Let me see.
Technically, yeah, on paper.
No, I think he's shot. To be honest, just his reactions, but of course that's only speculation. Off of performance, okay, I say he did scrape himself off the canvas 3 times, made it to the final bell. He's got size for sure because he was bullying the former fighters that he was facing.
Mm-hmm.
What is he fighting at now? Lightweight?
Super lightweight.
Welter? Super lightweight? I just give him a 7.
Well, we haven't gotten there yet.
He's got a lot to prove.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there. We're still at looking at his dossier here. But anyway, yeah, that's his worst moment right there was against Ryan Garcia. In terms of attributes, speed, like a lot of these guys, he's got a very quick hands, very good reflexes too. Was able to, at least be quicker than older quick guys like Jorge Linares and Regis Prograis. Made him look slow in comparison. And his jab, I keep saying it, that's a very good jab. I don't think there's other guys in this near these weight divisions who have as good a jab as Devin Haney. So we're gonna give him that. Or that's what he has there. All right. Hold on a second. Yeah. So that's what we got now. As it pertains to his flaws, well, he's got a couple. Lack of endurance. I didn't say chin, because chin is very subjective. I lack of endurance. He seems to be very shaky, whether to the body, as he was against Jojo Diaz. And then he was getting backed up by little ass Lomachenko. And then, of course, getting stunned by Linares and the 3 knockdowns against Garcia. But it wasn't just the knockdowns, too. It was the fact that he got hurt 2 more times or 3 more times in that fight. So overall, the question is still out there. And not only, even if you said, well, yeah, Linares was a puncher, though, so his endurance isn't all that bad. Now you figure you don't know how bad it's going to be then, or how good, because again, he did get beat up in there against Garcia. So how much does he have left remains the big question. Another big flaw of his, the lack of power. I think he hits hard enough to get people's attention, make them hesitate a little bit. But come on, when you can't stop Yuriorkis Gamboa and Jorge Linares, 2 guys that are notoriously shaky and chinny, and you can't even fucking stun them, yeah, I think it means you don't have power. And again, Lomachenko was walking him down. Then again, Lomachenko he was walking Teofimo Lopez down too, so doesn't mean Lopez can't crack. It just means Lomachenko has a good defense. But again, shouldn't be getting backed up by the shorter, smaller, older guy. And the other point, the other flaw in Haney's arsenal here, or his game, is he's a clincher. He clinches a lot. He clinched a lot against Cambosos. We've done the clinch count here over at BD Boxing. Clinched a lot against Linares. Clinched a lot against Garcia. And I wonder how much he's going to clinch against Jose Ramirez. So there is that there with Devin Haney. His ace in the hole, Snack. That's size advantage. This dude, and by the way, when I say size advantage, I don't want to hear, oh, Diddy. Would you stop? Oh, these people with the Diddy this, Diddy that. Listen, the point is, he's very big. Even Mauricio Suleiman said that when Haney was at lightweight, he was rehydrating up to 160 pounds. It's a middleweight fighting in the lightweight division. I mean, that is. Oh, no, wait, was it 160 pounds or 158? I forget, but it was essentially a lightweight, a middleweight fighting at lightweight. And so the fact that he can shrink his way down to even 140 pounds makes me wonder how much of that Snack is working for him there. And could he accomplish training himself down to 140 pounds if it wasn't for Snack and Victor Conte? The perfect fight? Well, it's coming up. Ryan Garcia rematch. Well, actually, no, excuse me. He has to get past Jose Ramirez first. But if he's got anything left in the tank, Haney should be able to outbox Ramirez. But if it's that Ramirez who can dial back the clock a little bit and Haney's compromised, yeah, it could be a little trickier fight than expected. Now we ask you guys to rank Devin Haney out of 10. What ranking would you give him? And Sobers, well, where do you fall in line with Haney? Or where do you fall with Haney? Do you out of 10? Let me put up the scale here.
Give him I'll give him a 5 for shitting his pants.
I knew you were going to say something like that. At least you're going to say 4. All right, let me see what people in the chat are saying. King KO says Devin cheated.
Oh, no, we give him a number 2. I'm sorry, BDA.
Nah, come on.
Give him a number 2
come on, man.
for shitting his pants.
Nah. number 2 for shitting. Oh, that was a good one. All right. DJ Bigley says 5. Manos Dinamita says rehydrated to 165. Holy shit, he was a super middleweight. 2 Matador says 5. Might lose to a washed out Ramirez. Bray says solid 6. Epadokua says 5. Hawker Mustang says snack the miracle sauce. Yeah, the more you drink, the more you shrink. All right, so people are saying 6 or 5. I gotta tell you, I don't think he's that bad. I mean, I don't think he's that low. Lalo Soto says 5. He's butt broken. Oh man! All right, so people feel. Listen, 5. We're talking journeyman gatekeeper. I don't think he falls in the gatekeeper journeyman category. In all fairness to Devin Haney, I think he's a 7. No, actually, we gave Richardson Hitchins a 6 or 7, right? And Puello 6 or 7. I would give him a 7, and maybe at the peak of Haney mania, that's when he beat Prograis. Maybe 8, because he was on a good run. Former undisputed lightweight champion.
At the peak,
at the peak
9
of
BDA.
No, well, listen, I'm not saying that's what I would have given him, but I mean, I think that would have been the general consensus.
Oh yeah, what his fans were, and also not the fans, like the media, the boxing media,
Uh huh. So what do you think? What do you think? A 7? Is that fair?
Yeah, it's all right.
All right. Yeah, I think. Hey, listen, if he beats Ramirez and then he has his revenge against Garcia, I think he might get a bump to 8, depending on how he does it. But for the moment, he's a 7. I think he's better than Hitchens though, and Puello. Well, maybe not Puello even. I don't know. I
think Puello might be. Puello probably outbox him.
Listen, I want to see how he looks against Ramirez. And even then, that's not going to tell us much because Ramirez might be shot-born. So there's a lot to figure out here in this lightweight division, or super lightweight division, let me tell you. Guys, hopefully you're enjoying the show. Parokua says, I can't even read some of these comments. Parokua says, bug broken should be an automatic minus status. That's a good point. Solvers, if a guy gets bug broken, a fighter gets bug broken, is that an automatic? How many point deductions is that? 1, 2.
I mean, I told we put him at a number 2. I thought that's where he was at.
All right. Let's get serious for a moment here. Let's go back to the list here. We're almost done, by the way. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe if you yet to do so already. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the show. Let's go to the next guy in this. Oh, by the way, this is the wild card. All right? This is a wild card. This guy is unranked, unsanctioned, overlooked by the committees. And we're talking about Ryan Garcia, the king, King Rai. 26 years old, 24 wins.
That picture.
Yeah, that's the face that Haney should have been making in the ring after he shit his pants. But he's got 24 wins, 1 loss, 20 knockouts. Actually, technically, it should be 25 wins, according to some people. Or in the eyes of the public, 25 wins. 5 feet, 10 inches tall, one of the tallest guys in this list, him and Hitchins. He's got a 70-inch reach, and he's unranked by Ring Magazine. But like I said, still a very dangerous fighter, and dare I say, overlooked by a lot of people still. Top wins include Luke Campbell, Javier Fortuna, Oscar Duarte, and Devin Haney. Even though the records don't show it anymore, we all saw what happened. His worst moment, however, clinch fest, majority decision win over Carlos Morales. Some people could say, yeah, what about the Tank Davis fight? Listen, we all know he was compromised in that Tank Davis fight. Even Tank Davis said, look, Garcia is too big, he's got the reach advantage, height advantage, all the advantages, he said, so I'm just making it a little fair. That's what Tank Davis said. So evidently, that wasn't the best Ryan Garcia. So as far as worst moment, there were no excuses against Carlos Morales, and he clinched a lot. He got wobbled by a jab of all punches. And to make matters worse, to add insult to injury, Morales ended up getting stopped by Jorge Linares in his next fight. So when the older guy is taking care of business in better fashion than you, that was a bad look there for Ryan Garcia. His attributes, well, you're seeing a lot of that in this list. Speed, power. The guy is very quick, and he hits hard, as we're going to see with that left hand. The other thing I like about Ryan Garcia, and again, people don't give him enough credit for this, his aggressiveness. Again, look at the Carlos Morales fight, and prior to that, when he was fighting guys like Jason Velez and other fighters, he's standing back, trying to wait for that left counter, waiting for that counter opening to throw the counter left. And whenever guys would get past that, he would start clinching. But then you fast forward to the Luke Campbell fight, he's walking Luke Campbell down. He fights Fortuna, walking him down. What was the name of that African guy? I can't believe I'm zoning out. It's been 2 hours, guys. So my apologies.
Ngeni?
What did you say? It sounded like you said something else.
Okay.
No, it wasn't Guinea. Hold on, I'm going to look it up. Can't believe I'm forgetting these names, man. I got to tell you. After 2 hours. That's what happens to me all the time. Hold on, I'm looking it up here. I got it. Tagoe. Emmanuel Tagoe. Tago. Can't believe I forgot his name. Yeah, so thank you, people. Yeah, Tago. He had to go. People in the chat are saying Tago too. Yeah, shout out to Alo Soto and Jay Colt. Yeah, but anyway, my point was that he was walking those guys down. And I have learned to respect guys who say, like Lamont Roach, for example, who changed their game up in the middle of their careers and go, you know what? I could probably just back foot bitch it or wait for counter opportunities. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk these guys down. I'm going to refine my defense, my sense of range, my defense, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to take it to the fighters so that the judges see, okay, this guy's being the aggressor. So that's what I respect about Ryan Garcia. He did it to Tank Davis. He was doing it to Tank Davis. And other than the knockdowns, Tank Davis wasn't landing much on Ryan Garcia. It was a very close fight, other than the knockdowns. So again, I think people overlook Garcia's ability to close the distance.
I think they overrate that performance that Davis had.
Yeah.
Because he got hurt in that second round. He came back with that knockdown, but they act like he was doing setting up a masterclass the whole time. It wasn't like that. There was a lot of clinching. And then on top of that, the dude we knew he was compromised, and then he also talked about that mole in his camp, and he ended up stopping him. Where they said that, oh, I know where you're injured, and that's where he hit him, and that's where he took the knee.
And what did
So,
the mole say?
there's a lot of dirt.
What did the mole say the day afterwards?
He said, Ryan Garcia, I am sorry. Are you okay?
What a freak! But yeah, you're right. The mole, that was another thing, and you know that Tank Davis fight. Ryan Garcia's problem was that every time he hurt Tank Davis or shook him, he got overly aggressive and he played right into Tank Davis's hands. Again, he did manage to hurt Tank Davis. And then every time he would hurt Tank Davis would sort of clinch and then look at the referee for some perceived infraction, like he did with Isaac Cruz and Lamont Roach. So, like I was saying with Gervonta Tank Davis, I asked the question, is he bitch-made? You guys tell us. But as for Ryan Garcia's flaws, he lacks a jab. For such a rangy guy, he could very well for himself if he had a jab, but for some reason, never worked on it. This guy had a solid amateur career winning national titles, but for some reason, no jabs. Also, he's got even though he's the aggressor more often than not, he still lacks an inside game. Case in point, look at the Duarte fight, which is another contender for one of his worst moments. Duarte was coming forward, and for one of the few cases in recent memory, Garcia had to back foot bitch it, and whenever Duarte would get too close, he would clinch. It wasn't just a clinch from Garcia, it was the pussy roll. He would turn around and bend over. I mean, it was really just bizarre, unchristian and unconstitutional to see him do that. And so that's one of his flaws. And the most egregious one, or the dangerous flaw, is that I think, based on everything I've seen, he's undisciplined. He said after the Gervonta Tank Davis fight, I wasn't, really taking it seriously. I wasn't living my best life. Thinking, okay, maybe it's an excuse. Maybe he's making it up to soften the blow. But then when he stepped in there against Devin Haney, he looked out of shape too, as well. So I don't know how hard this guy trains. I don't think he takes his career seriously. I think because of his physical attributes, that speed and the power, he sort of half-asses it in the ring. I mean, in the gym, and says, my power's going to get me through this. My power. I'm so powerful. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I think it's a big problem right there. But we'll see what happens. What do you think, Sobers? Do you think he's undisciplined?
No, yeah, that's his. Everything about the promotion around the Devin Haney fight was him being undisciplined and him being a party boy, him drinking. He showed up with that bottle. We don't know if it was real or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
When he was drinking that bottle of wine when he weighed in. So, and then, afterwards he was going on drunk blackout tirades on Twitter or whatever. So yeah, and then they kicked him out of the Reynoso camp because Canelo said he was undisciplined. He'd show up like once a week. He want to work out he'd show up late, want to work out for 30 minutes and go.
Jeez, Luis.
So that is his problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. And then Joe, switching trainers too. That's also a red flag.
Oh yeah. You don't train Ryan Garcia. You collaborate with him.
Oh my goodness gracious! I mean, I gotta tell you, like I said, I respect Joe Goosen, but when he said that, I respected him when he said that because he didn't want to throw Garcia under the bus, but that was his way of saying so. Like, hey man, this guy doesn't really listen. So that I do overlook that. But still, I mean, the fact that Ryan Garcia has had his father as a trainer, I think he had someone else before that. Then Eddie Reynoso, then Derrick James. Joe Goosen, Derrick James. Now he ditched Derrick James. Apparently, he's going to be training with this. Is what I heard. He's going to be training with his father and with Justin Fortune, who I think is the former wildcard guy, former heavyweight fighter too. I think that's him. So again, it's why is he switching it up so much? I don't know. It's a big red flag. And finally, we move on to the final category here. He ace in the hole. His left hook. This dude has a mean left hook. The only other guy who has as good as left hook as he does, and we're going to see him later on. But again, Shakur Stevenson doesn't have a good left hook. Gervonta Davis, well, he's a southpaw. Both those guys are southpaws, but they don't have the lead left hook, that lead hook, that Garcia has. Hitchins doesn't even come close either. Keyshawn Davis doesn't have a good lead left hook. So Garcia has one of the best left hooks in the business. Him, Inoue, Canelo. Who else? I know I'm missing somebody, but I mean, that's Nonito Donaire-esque type left hook. The way he uncoils it so quickly and drops guys, you got to give it up to him. That left hook is right on point.
It's money.
It's money. There you go. It's gravy. He's the mayonnaise man. Now, for the perfect fight, it's coming up. The Haney rematch. Well, actually, I keep saying coming up. I said the same thing with Haney. Ryan Garcia's got to get past Rolly Romero first. And like I was saying earlier, Ryan Garcia's got inconsistency issues, undisciplined. He might be overlooking Rolly Romero. And Romero, say what you want about the guy. He's built like a middleweight. He can crack. And he's so out of whack that he probably doesn't even worry about the losses. You know how some people dwell on the losses? Like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that. For Romero, he's got such a short memory. I bet you he doesn't even remember the losses. He doesn't even think they happened.
He doesn't even remember what he had for breakfast, BDA.
Exactly. He doesn't even remember the last time he took a dump. There you go. So I think that actually plays to his favor, and he's going to show up to win. And Garcia better show up to win as well, man, because he could turn into a tricky fight. For sure.
He always has that blank stare when they ask him a simple question. Rolly, are you going to win this fight? And he just starts staring off for like 5 seconds, like processing it, and he goes, yeah, I am. I don't know, bro. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, bro. He just seems like he's always absent. He's very absent-minded.
But not for nothing, though. But when those moderators ask those type of questions, like, Rolly, how do you win on September the 15th? It's like, what, you want him to tell you how he's going to win, give you the game plan? I mean, it's such. I know they got to ask those type of questions, but goddamn, they get annoying. I would react the same way. I would just, if a guy just asked me that question, I would just stare at the moderator until he switched up and asked something to somebody else. You know, go on to the next guy. I don't want to answer your fucking questions. But that's Ryan Garcia.
Rolly stare.
Oh yeah, and you know what?
Mouth
the other
half
thing about
open, lip curled.
The other thing about Rolly Romero is a voice. That voice, it's very, very bizarre voice too. Peculiar.
It's what's up with these boxers? They all got these weird little squeaky cartoon voices. Gervonta Davis sounds like an 8-year-old, you know, with fucking cotton balls in his mouth.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, well, they're fighters, man.
And so does Rolly. He also, I heard that he didn't learn how to speak until he was 10 years old.
What the fuck? Yeah, those are speech pattern issues, right? I mean, yeah, some sort of speech impediment there. But listen, they're boxers. They're not orators. So, well, we won't hold it against them. So, fellas, and sobers as well, how much do you give Ryan Garcia out of 10? How would you rate him out of 10?
I'll put him at a 7. He's a contender. He's already, if he can get that win over Devin Haney again, and you know it's quote unquote legit.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think the first one was already legit enough, but if he can get that win on the record all the way and take that full zo, he really will have bug broken officially, and then we can put him, where they were trying to put Haney on the pound for pound list.
Well,
you know what I mean? Because I remember before that fight, he was up there by a lot with a lot of the mainstream media. So
it's a good point. And by the way, do you give? People are saying, do you give him extra points for bug breaking a guy?
Yeah, you don't see because I'll probably put him like at a
elite?
6, but yeah, making someone shit themselves in the ring, it's pretty special. I don't know.
There you go. Quite unique in its own way. By the way, Earl Stevens says that Rolly Romero had Zika. No, come on. That's that disorder where the kids in Brazil are born with like the small head. Like, like the character.
Zika virus.
Yeah, the Zika virus. Come on, that's not what he had. Man. Come on. What the fuck? It's fake news right there.
I think he's someone who beat down. He beat Down syndrome. That's
I think he's
kind of
borderline.
why he gets off.
Yeah. Remember when that girl accused him of sexual assault? He was a fat girl. And she claimed that Rolly Romero forced his dick in her mouth and down her throat. I said, wait a minute, how does that happen? Like, what position were they that he shoved his cock right down her throat? That makes no sense to me, man. Believe me, I've tried. Like, how do you make that happen? It's not easy. All right. So wait a minute. So you said 7. People are saying, all right, Mark in the chat says 10. Manos Inimbita says 7. Broughton says 7. Chidlin says 5. Rapak says Ryan gets a 6. Josh says he gets a 10. Ah, come on. No. DJ Big Leg says 6. All right, we'll give him a 6. The beating he gave, what's his name? Hold on, I'm going to change it. The beating he gave Haney, Sobers makes a good point that the media and certain fans were overhyping Haney. Why should if Garcia beats him next time, shouldn't he be higher than 6? We shall see. We shall see. And finally, the last fighter in this list. Thank you guys for staying with us here. Hope you enjoyed the show. Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez, the champ. The undisputed, that's right, undisputed champ at super lightweight. 27 years old. He's about the same age as Shakur Stevenson, Haney, and Keyshawn Davis. I think Keyshawn Davis is 26. Zepeda too is 27. And this guy has accomplished more than them. But we'll get to that. 21 wins, 1 loss, 13 knockouts. Stands at 5 feet 8 inches tall with a 69.5-inch reach advantage. And he's Ring Magazine's super lightweight champion. There is no dispute that he's the man in the division, just like he was at lightweight. Real quick, his top wins include Masayoshi Nakatani, Richard Comey, Vasil Lomachenko, and Josh Taylor. That's right, Josh Taylor. That's those latter 2 wins, Lomachenko and Taylor. Taylor was borderline pound for pound. Lomachenko was pound for pound. So probably the best 2 wins anyone has ever had in this list. His worst moment, however, he's had a couple. Getting dropped and losing his championship to George Kambosos back in 2021. That was almost like what Haney's moment against Garcia was. That's what Lopez's moment against Kambosos was to him. He was just people made fun of him. He was acting like a jackass in the build-up to the fight. He built up a lot of bad credit with the people, and so when he lost, a lot of people came to collect. His attributes include his explosiveness. What I mean by explosiveness, of course, he's got speed, but what I mean by that is he can leap with lead left hooks, kind of like a little bit like Roy Jones with those gazelle punches. You don't see a lot of.
You should put explosivity.
Yeah, explosivity and crispy punches, like Emmanuel Stewart would say. But explosive, yeah. So he there's not a lot of other guys who can do some of the stuff he does in there. With the way he throws, he's just a little bit like. I'm not saying he's fully like that, but a little bit like Roy Jones. That's what he was. He was, those late runs against Josh Taylor, he was what the young people call nowadays, he was styling on them. So that's what I mean by explosiveness in a way. Another attribute he has is his experience. Like if you saw his resume, he's fought all sorts of fighters in his short career. Because again, he's got less than 30 fights, believe it or not. But he's already a seasoned veteran at this point. He's fought pound for pounders like Josh Taylor and Lomachenko. Long-rangey guys like Nakatani, jabbers like Eddie Stattel, runners like Jermaine Ortiz, southpaws, elusive southpaws like Xander Martin, come-forward guys like Campa and what's his name? The last guy he fought, Claggett. So he's seen it all, man. So when he steps in there against Barboza kind of fights at a little bit same rhythm as Kambosos. So he's seen it all. And if he's as good as we think he is, he should have learned from that, and we'll see what happens there. And also his final attribute, underrated power. People say, well, he couldn't stop Claggett. He hasn't had a stoppage in a long time, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I think we can all agree he hits harder than Shakur Stevenson. I think we can all agree he hits harder than Devin Haney.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
In a way, yeah, he's not, look, listen, he's not the power puncher that he was being made out to be at lightweight. But he was beating Josh Taylor up in there. As for the Claggett fight, look, Claggett ate some big shots, man. And again, people say, well, that's Exhibit A, that he couldn't take him out. But he beat him up. I'm surprised Claggett was able to stay upright. He won't be able. Probably won't be the same guy afterwards. And I don't think that's a knock on Lopez's power. I still think he's got superior power to some of these guys. Certainly hits harder than Hitchins. That's another guy he hits harder than. I think he hits harder than Puello and Martin. So I think if people want to overlook his power, they do so at their own detriment.
I don't know. Didn't Martin drop him twice?
Yeah, he did. But I mean, again, that doesn't mean Lopez doesn't hit hard. He just couldn't catch the guy. And by the way, that's a fight that I think he lost, by the way. I think Martin edged it. And I don't think it was, I think it was competitive, but it was clearly Martin was always one step ahead. So anyway, that's neither here nor there right now. Flaws. He's got a couple. Lack of a jab. Now, Sobers, I'm curious. What do you agree with that he lacks a jab? Or because sometimes I don't know if I'm making shit up, if I'm seeing things.
No, he's someone who he's a athletic fighter. Classic. He relies on his reflexes. He wants to catch you with your hands out. With you reaching. He's not he's not trying to set up stuff. He's trying to let you set up stuff for him. So no, he doesn't. I don't think he uses his jab well.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not that kind of fighter, and that's it's his detriment because that's what Martin was using against him pretty well.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I was rewatching the Kambosos fight. After he got dropped, he started jabbing more. Now he didn't land the jab, but at least he was working a little bit more. And again, if he's gonna beat some of the guys at or around his division, he's gonna need to pump that jab out more, man. Because there's some guys who are superior boxers than he is, not by a lot, but just enough to outbox him. So I don't know if he's training with Reynoso still or whatever, but he needs to develop a jab. And I don't even know if
I think he had an okay jab against Lomachenko because he was using that to set up his body shots.
Right.
So I think he's shown that he can do it. He just he has to have the right trainer. He has to be in the right mindset. Someone has to control him, tell him what he's doing, what he needs to do in there. Instead of someone just screaming at him, knock him out already. That's not a...
Knock him out already. What the fuck? Yeah, I mean, come on.
That's not good advice. You know what I mean? You got to tell him, flip your jab, find your way on the inside, and blah, blah, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what are you doing?
Well, the other thing is they say not to have they say to avoid a hanky-panky in the build-up to a fight because it takes away your legs. Again, maybe he should stop sleeping in the same bed with his father because whatever's going on there, maybe he's taking the legs away. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Look at that, baby. Look at that. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so the other thing is he's got an over-reliance on the shoulder roll. Same thing with Keyshawn Davis. They're in that shoulder roll stance, waiting for the right hand, and they don't see the jab coming because it's a quicker punch, and boom, they start getting their head snapped back. You get your head snapped back, that creates excitement with the judges because it's as clean a punch as you're ever going to see. The cleanest punch a guy can score is when he's snapping the guy's head around, back and forth or to the sides, back into the left, back into the left. So that's something that could cost him in a close fight. And the other thing is, finally, is he one-dimensional? Much has been made about his inability to close the distance, cut the ring off, fight against, or essentially be effective against movers. And I think, again, one of his problems is a little bit like the Zepeda problem. He starts from too far away. Actually, no, that wasn't Zepeda's problem. Teofimo Lopez's problem is he starts from too far away, and he pressures guys while having that shoulder roll. You can't pressure a guy with the shoulder roll. It's very difficult to do because if you're going to pressure a guy, you should take a little bit more of a square stance. Not square up, mind you, but a little bit more of a square stance. Put your earmuffs up, be in a tight tank-like position, and go for it. That way you're safe behind that guard and you're pressuring the guy. You can't do it with the Philly shell. And by doing the Philly shell, subconsciously, he's waiting for the shot, and he's overly defensive. So what he'll do is he doesn't want to get too close to a guy with the Philly shell, so he'll leap in to avoid getting caught with something in the mid-range, and he ends up missing and having to reset or falls into a clinch. And he's finding a guy in Barboza who's got very good footwork, so he better watch it. Better watch it. And that brings us to the final categories.
That's a taller dude, right?
You know what? That's a good question. Let me see. Okay, so Lopez stands at 5 feet 8 inches tall, allegedly. You never know. 69.
Probably 5'7".
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, 69.5 inch reach. Okay, so 5'8", 69.5 inch reach. Barboza stands, according to the stats I got, 5'9", so slightly taller by 1 inch, 72 inch reach, whereas Lopez has a 69.5
3 inches.
Almost 3 inches. Yeah. What do you think? Could be a factor?
That's what she said.
Come on.
No, yeah, because I do think it'll be a factor, even though it's kind of minuscule. I think these guys kind of lie about their height a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the height difference will be a little bit more. And I remember when Teofimo fought Nakatani, he gave him a real hard fight. And after the fight, he literally said, no more tall guys. We're not fighting no more tall guys.
Yeah, I remember.
And he kind of has been avoiding that kind of matchup ever since. And, this is a taller guy, so maybe he could get those same problems. You have a hard time getting on the inside if he has good footwork.
That's a good point. again, it's guys that have had bad performances, him and Barboza. So I favor Teofimo Lopez, but it is a very dangerous fight for both guys. And I think that's why it's the most intriguing fight on that City of Wolves card. As for Teofimo Lopez, he's acing the hole. Believe it or not, I think it's a right uppercut. It's a punch he doesn't throw that often lately. But I mean, again, he was really hurting Claggett with that. I mean, it was sickening to watch it when he lands that right uppercut. Same thing against Campa. Not for nothing, but the right uppercuts to the body against Lomachenko, I think they were keeping Loma honest, and it kept him thinking about how to come in on the inside. And again, to the body too. That's a very good punch to throw, especially to the plexus. He just needs to throw it more often. And I think it's an overlooked punch in Lopez, and I think it could make the difference in a fight. Not just that straight right that he has or that leaping left hook, but that right uppercut, I think, is his ace in the hole. As for the perfect fight for him, well, I think the Garcia-Haney winner could be the perfect fight. Garcia, like I said, tends to overlook his training. Haney might be a little shop-worn. You never know. We'll see. Whereas Teofimo Lopez, and that's the thing about guys like Haney and Teofimo Lopez, though. One thing I give him credit for is I've never seen them exhausted in a ring. They have had some tough fights. They fought some of the best guys out there, but I've never seen them tired. So work ethic isn't a problem. So if Lopez goes in there and he's still fresh as a daisy, whereas Haney and Garcia aren't, could be the difference. So I think that's why it's the perfect fight. What do you think, Sobers? What would be the perfect fight for Lopez if he beats Barboza?
I would like to see him fight Gervonta Davis.
Yeah. Long overdue fight. You're absolutely. That's a good one. For the moment, the best we got is
someone got to stand up for the culture.
Oh man! By the way, the best we've got is sparring footage of Lopez and Tank Davis when they were 15, 16, something like that. So that's the best
but in that footage, you can see that Teofimo is smaller than Davis. You know,
how does that work? How does that happen? By the way, how the fuck can you be smaller than Tank Davis?
So
wow.
Now you know what I'm saying. Now I don't think it's the same thing right now.
No, definitely not, man. Definitely not. All right, so it's hard to imagine, though, Sobers, that Teofimo Lopez is actually 3 years younger than Tank Davis. He's got a much better resume, or dossier, as I like to say. All right, so Sobers and the people in the chat, the viewers, how do you rank Teofimo Lopez out of 10? How much do you give him? And Sobers,
I think he's good enough to be around an 8. You know, he could be a low tier pound for pound guy with some of his accomplishments. You know, he got to build on top of him, but he's one of these young dudes that's building. He's beating legit guys, and he's moving up weight classes.
Well, that's the thing, though. Is I know when he had that bad performance against Jermaine Ortiz, Ring Magazine dropped him out of the top 10 pound for pound ratings. I think they've done the same thing now with Gervonta Tank Davis. I think they had him. No, actually. I think Ring Magazine didn't have him. I think for a while. Okay, so check out. Anyway, what I was gonna say was Ring Magazine doesn't have Teofimo Lopez in the pound for pound list, and I'm checking ESPN because it's lately the ESPN pound for pound list I've disagreed with a lot of it, but I'm looking here. Look at this, ESPN Sobers. ESPN, they've got Gervonta Tank Davis. They still have him there. Albeit they have him lower level pound for pound. They got him above. How is he above Shakur Stevenson?
Who?
Gervonta Tank Davis.
I don't know how he's on the list, period. So really, like you were just saying, after these guys have a bad performance, they're getting dropped off the list. And you still say that Gervonta Davis is still there after that draw against Lamont Roach.
How can
we've now we've seen that the New York Athletic Commission said that, we agree the judge made the wrong call, but we're not going to change anything.
Yeah, exactly. So he's privileged. That's why I said earlier, one of his Tank Davis' ace in the hole is his privilege, A-side privilege.
That's for sure.
Look at it. But ESPN, they tell you who voted for whom, and Bradley has Davis number 8 pound for pound. Mike Coppinger has Davis 8 as well. So all of these guys think he's top 10. Teddy Atlas has, Well, to his credit. Oh, no, he's got Tank Davis number 7 pound for pound. Or 6. He's got him 6.
Oh my God.
What is this? Joe Tessitore has Davis number 10. Okay, that's not that bad. So, Parkinson. Who the fuck is
He
Parkinson?
shouldn't be on the list.
Look, there's a guy named Parkinson. Him and Lou Gehrig
Does he
said
have
Davis.
Parkinson? Is that Freddie Roach? Is that his
come
pseudonym
on.
or what?
Well, Parkinson agrees with Lou Gehrig, and they said Davis number 8. So a lot of these guys have Davis in the top 10, which is ridiculous. They don't have Lopez. None of these guys have Lopez. See, listen. They're overrating Tank Davis and they're underrating Lopez. Okay, Woodyard has Lopez number 9. This is insane. How can you have Tank Davis ahead of Teofimo Lopez, the undisputed junior welterweight? This is disgusting, man. These fucking people are out of their minds. Let's take a look at the Ring Magazine list. They got Benavidez number 10. Haney is still number 9. What the fuck's he doing there? Okay, to their credit, they got Nakatani. To their credit, they got Nakatani ahead of Devin Haney. Saul Alvarez number 7. Jesse Bam Rodriguez number 6. Beterbiev number 5. Bivol number 4. I think he should be ahead of Crawford, by the way, just by virtue of the fact that he just beat a monster and arguably beat him at the first time as well. Whereas Crawford struggled mightily against Madrimov, who ended up losing to Virgil Ortiz. So I don't know how he's ahead of Bivol. Inoue number 2 and Usyk pound for pound number 1 guy, the king. All right. So what do people say about Lopez and 7? Hold on, let me see.
He said Tank Lopez.
Tank Lopez. No, I didn't say Tank Lopez. Did I say that? Fuck. Tank Lopez. That's gonna be. That's when you create. When you do the video game, you create your own fighter, and you say, "I'm gonna mix both guys."
Tank Lopez. Yeah.
But you remember when Joe Rogan? I don't know if you've ever seen that episode, but it was after Marquez knocked out Pacquiao, and Rogan, you can tell he's high out of his mind. He goes, he does that thing where he brings the mic up to his face more when he's gonna get into a serious point. He goes, well, what happened with Marquez and Pacquiao was he grabs the microphone, puts it really close. He goes, Marquez just he had his timing down, and because you gotta remember they fought 3 times previously. And then as the conversation goes on, he starts explaining, what happened. He starts calling Marquez Lopez. So Lopez, when he was, I said, what the fuck? He said it 5 times. From then on, he just kept referring to Marquez as Lopez. And I remember I brought that up.
That's funny though.
I brought that up in the chat, and then people started making up their own names. People started, people started saying George Frazier, Vladimir Klitschko, Vladimir Lomachenko. It's like people just started mixing up the names, and I don't know why, but some of them were pretty creative, man. Funny as hell. Okay, so Padokua says 7, Manos de Dinamita says 8, Josh says 8, Earl Stevens says 8, Broughton Boxing says between 7 and 8, J. Cole says 8, Manos de Dinamita changed it up. He says actually 9. If he's in the zone. Okay, so if he powers up, he reaches a 9. Life and Logic says Benavidez on my top 10 pound for pound list. All right. Rapax Trucking Company says DEI pound for pound higher. Okay, yeah, DEI.
Come on.
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, when Silver says come on, that means you've gone too far.
Well, I mean, we could say that for some of these guys on the list, though. Like you're just saying, like, why is Gervonta Davis on there? Why is Devin Haney still on there?
You're right. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. Davis on ESPN has to have the worst list right now compared to Ring Magazine. Absolutely.
They probably got Jerron Ennis on there.
Oh, they're gonna put him in there. They're gonna put him in there. I bet you they're gonna Jared Anderson. They're gonna have him in the top 20 pound for pound. He's still good. Rapax Trucking Company says the ESPN circle jerk. Yeah. Earl Stevens says cockatry. Yeah. So that's what we got. So people are saying, listen, if we go by our scale here, 8 is low wrong pound for pound. Yeah, I think definitely. Look, if you want to take points away from the Jermaine Ortiz fight, fine. But he's still an 8. He's a low top 10 pound for pound guy. I mean, in the lower level of top 10 pound for pound. And that's pretty freaking good. So I was going to say fucking, but I said, no, don't say fuck, say freak.
Yeah, you said it 2 times after that.
No, but I mean, but I preface it by freak, which sort of devalues it because it's cringe to say freak. Like people say, oh my gosh, come on, what's the matter with you? So 8, number 8, I think he's got the highest ranking of all these guys that we've had so far. I think that's the highest one, right? We didn't give Shakur Stevenson an 8, did we?
No, he doesn't deserve it.
All right, first of all, yeah, you weren't there. First of all, yeah, you're right. You would say he doesn't deserve it. All right. So that does it, fellas. That does it for our rankings right there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'm glad that there was some disagreement. Otherwise, it's boring. But that's about it. I'll try to be back with a call-in show maybe tomorrow. The plan was I was going to do a show with Chief, special historical episode. But as you can, I don't know if you guys could tell, but Chief ain't feeling too hot right now. The flu or whatever finally caught up with him. But I will see what happens. We'll see what happens. But other than that, fellas, thank you for being here. Sobers, thank you for being on the panel, man. Real appreciate it. Gonzalo as well. Like the aforementioned Chief. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Next division. Let us know which division we should analyze next. Again, the reason why I mixed lightweight and super lightweights was because lightweight by itself it wasn't going to work out. And I think a lot of those guys from lightweight are eventually going to fight at super lightweight, or they could fight at a catchweight in between divisions. So that's why I decided to bundle them up. But what should the next division be? Welterweight? Nah, it's a little too thin. Junior welterweight, we already did it. Featherweight could be a good one. Featherweight. Middleweight, it's a junkyard. Super middleweight, it's starting to get a little interesting, but not that much. Cruiserweight, nobody gives a shit about it. I guess heavyweights, the heavyweights and the featherweights are going to have to be the next ones. What do you think, Sobers?
Yeah, that'd be good. Maybe 130. It's not getting a lot of attention right now, but I think there's some contenders there.
Yeah, Manos
Or what about 118? 122, my bad.
120. You know what? 122 is getting interesting too. Yeah, 122 pounds. Manos Zinanimita says, excuse me, 126 and 130. For sure, 126. I mean, come on, you got some fantastic talent. Bantamweight, let me see who's up at bantamweight right now. Nakatani, Nishida, Senseiya, Tsutsumi, Yoshi. That's all. Jeez, Louise, they call this a Japanese division. It's all Japanese guys in there. Look at that. Nakatani 1, Nishida 2, Senseiya Tsutsumi 3, Yoshiki Takei 4, Takuma Inoue. Didn't he lose recently? Yeah, Senseiya beat him, right? I think that was the guy that beat him.
I'm not sure.
Emmanuel Rodriguez still in there. Daigo Higa, another Japanese guy. Tenshi Nasukawa is in there. Holy smokes, there's 8 Japanese guys in here. Interesting. Now, what was the other one? Super featherweight? Where is it? Excuse me, junior featherweight. Inoue, Tapales, Agmadaliev. Yeah, that's a good one. Neri. Some guy from England. All right. Might be the next one. I think heavyweight's still...
some guy from England.
Heavyweight's the marquee division, so I think maybe we could do that one next, right off the bat.
That's
but anyway,
probably the best one, and it's a lot of heat going on in the heavyweight division.
That's right. All right, well, listen, fellas, shout out to you guys for joining us. Shout out to everybody who donated the super chat. Don't forget to hit that like on the way out. Hope you enjoy the show. We'll be trying to be back as soon as possible. Again, not much going on this Saturday. If you can, make sure to check out tomorrow's morning card, the Japanese card. Going to be at 5 in the morning, I think. So stay tuned for that one. I think it's going to be good. Kenshiro Toraji, another guy that could easily be in the top 10 pound for pound list. So that's what we'll see there. Hopefully you guys enjoy those fights. Hopefully you enjoy the show. Catch you in the next one. Take it easy.